on air.
Okay, and we should be live.
Hi everyone.
Hello. I don't really have access to live chat today because I have our script on my phone. So live chat, I'm not gonna see much of really. So you guys will have to keep on top of chat as much as you can.
I would be happy to.
I suppose I can literally just have it sitting over my game. But it's going to minimize every time I come back onto the game. Hey there, everyone. Hey, Papyrus. Hey, Daily Evil Killer. Hey, Mariamba. Hey, Kovu. Hey, Yassi. And of course, hi, Rex, and hi, Elias. Right. We are going to... Oh!
Are you getting started?
We are. I'm going to go to the on-air channel, so I will see you on the stream, Rubix.
See you on the stream.
Hello, hello. My stream is buffering. Is that going out for everyone?
It was, and then it came back. It's fine. Just a little momentary.
Yeah, it's buffering for me too.
Are we back?
Now it's working.
Alright. Fucking hell. Mariamba.
Oh no, Mariamba.
Is that the third time you've donated? Dude, you don't need to keep giving us money. It's okay. Thank you very much, but you don't have to do that.
Thank you.
I like that it's a super chat, but I still have the option to report, remove, put user in timeout, hide user on the channel.
Hey Drake.
And today, Ash, we've also got to thank you for the Hallowe'en factory mode. The money will eventually end. That's okay, Mariamba. Alright. So,
Today is how to defuse a Centurion.
Yes, it is. We're going to talk all about our tactics, our strategies, and our experiences with the Centurion, and we're going to let all you guys know how you can solve a Centurion from the comfort of your very own abodes. We've got plenty to talk about, more than you might expect, so this probably will be a whole stream.
Afterwards, I'll probably do guest bombs or viewer bombs on my stream.
Yeah, afterwards, if you want to all head over to Rex's YouTube, we might do some viewer defusal there.
Yeah,
do a Centurion, Rex. They're all going to know how to do it by then.
You should have a 100% solve rate with every guest you bring on.
Absolutely.
Exactly. Well, first thing you want to do with the Centurion is to pick up your diffuser, pick the team. You want to decide how many experts you want. We like doing it with 2. We felt that 3 was too many, that people would get bored, that it just was too much for the diffuser to handle. In general, I find 3 experts to be too much for an average diffuser to handle. So pick your team, pick your diffuser, and then go.
What I'll do here actually on my side of things, just so it's a bit more interesting, I'm going to load up a Centurion in Zen mode. And I'll kind of go to the modules that we're talking about and all that kind of thing. So let's just load up a Centurion here before we go any further.
Yep.
What is this?
That's what?
So, section 1 table of contents. We've got missions. Directly under that, we've got Beware Skyward. Okay. Section 1 1.1 Listen. Description, help me please, let me out of here. It's 15 minutes, 11 modules.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, have I got 2 readies?
You have to?
Am I experting?
I think so. I don't know what this is, but...
Well, let me ready up.
Okay.
Wait. Are we solving something right now?
I think so. Help me, please let me out of here. I don't know what to tell you, man. It's a 15-minute bomb, 11 modules. It says Beware Skyward. I think we need to solve a bomb.
Okay. If we must, we must. I'm getting set up for you.
Yeah, it is. And now I'm gonna have to move the
This
is
cat.
unexpected.
This is creepy. This is scary.
Beware.
I'm stalled by this. Happy Halloween, everyone.
Let's see what I got here. I'll bring it
I was gonna say this goes in the next stream, but I guess not. This has to be done. Well, no Rex music, no Rex experting. I'm just gonna go with this.
It's just one bomb. Let me know when you're both good to go.
Not ready.
I'm ready when you are, I guess.
Did you say you are or you aren't ready, Rex?
I am.
Not.
Rex is not ready. Okay.
Okay.
I don't think any of us are really ready. I've no idea what's about to happen.
Just beware. Okay, I'm ready now.
Okay. Well, I'm pressing start.
Well, I should
What's about to happen?
stop the music.
I've no idea. Oh. There's a jack-o'-lantern, I can see that in the dark. Oh, it's all purple and yellow and orange even, and black. It's all Halloweeny. Okay, edgework. We've got 5 in 3. A lit FR kilo. And then a parallel and a serial on one plate. Alright, we've got a serial of Papa Juliet 5, Lima Charlie 1. Rex, you've got a skewed slots of 587. And Silly, you have an adjacent letters. It says evil, dark, and tomb.
Evil Dark Tomb.
That's your adjacent letters.
I love it.
Rex, you do the moon, don't you?
Yeah.
Excellent. All right. So your skewed slots has a purple background today, Rex. It's all spooky.
Yeah. I'll watch the stream later. I can't watch it now.
Cheat code on adventure game. You just never use the cheat code, do you?
No. I don't even just tell people about it. We got time on this bomb to double check work.
Yeah, I'd say so. While I've got time, Silly, can I give you another read?
Yes, go ahead.
Gamepad is 3110, which
Of course it is.
strikes me as the Halloween date.
Yes, it is. Yeah. I'm just gonna double check my adjacent letters real quick.
No idea what 587 is or my answer, but
I think it's just the background color we're looking at for this one. It's all black and
Okay.
purple. But go for it. What's your answer?
549.
All right, that is. Oh, actually, not correct, Rex. Try that again. 640.
FRK is lit, correct?
Yes.
Five batteries.
5 batteries. We just got a strike, but that was Ash's nasty Halloween strike, I think.
All right, I have your
Yeah,
adjacent
let's
letters.
do it.
Victor, India, Delta, Romeo.
Just those?
Just those 4.
Is good. I've got another one for you.
Okay.
Okay, it's provide snack. PROVIDESNACK. But I'm also gonna do broken buttons with you now, if that's okay.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so first of all, I'm pressing a first and third row T. That is the word tomb. We don't have others. We've got literally blank. There's no one that submits.
Yeah.
Yep.
You press that.
I'm doing
So you
another.
go-
I'm doing another literally blank. It's 3. Now we've got haunt.
Is that 3 blanks or is
No,
it
it's
3
2 blanks,
total?
3 total.
Thank
We've got haunt is a repeated word, and ghost is a. Oh no, we've got another literally blank. Well, there we go. That's 5 buttons. Left submit.
Left submit unless. Yeah.
Cool. All right.
There's no souvenir, is there?
No. Let me give you color morse while we're here.
Okay.
They're all orange.
I had a feeling they would be.
Parentheses first. It begins with, I think, 5 dots.
Okay.
And then the second number is... Oh, sorry, it's Bravo on the second one. And then... dot dash dash dot, which is Papa? No. X-ray? Oh, I don't know. Anyway, it's plus on the first 2, in parentheses, and then times the third one.
Got it.
Verified. 5 batteries.
Yep.
Gotcha. 230. I'm scared though.
That's good, thank you, Rex. Do you want to do a jack-o'-lantern with me?
Why not?
Okay, we have...
It's my first time doing this. Nothing for you to tell me.
no, I think I have
Oh,
to tell you
tell
his
me.
face.
Yeah, you do.
So he's got standard triangular eyes. He also has a standard triangular nose. The mouth is 6 fangs, all pointing downwards. The ones on the ends are
Gotcha.
larger. Yep.
Yep.
Okay, your color morse is 400.
Okay. 0, remind me. 5 dashes.
0 is 5 dashes.
Nicely done, thank you. So you've got gamepad and adjacent.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Hit the right button, which is treat.
Nicely done, Rex. How about a bitmaps for you?
Sure
The
thing.
bitmaps is a picture of a smiley pumpkin. Thank you, Elias. Blacks
Can't
are
wait to watch this stream later.
blacks are 7, 9, 7 again, and 7 again. Also, the lights are off. Thanks, Ash. 7977, I believe, would be correct. I'm not seeing any specials. I'll double check it though.
Gamepad is ready.
Gamepad, sure.
You're going up, up, down, down.
Yep.
Bravo up, right alpha.
Nicely done. I'll give you a logic in a moment, but let me do this with Rex. 7, 9, 7, 7. Yeah, I'm happy with that, Rex. Logic is help me.
Got it.
HEL on the top row, PME on the bottom. So parentheses first both times. We've got down arrow twice on the top row, and it's not Lima. And then on the bottom row, it's vertical bar in the parentheses, and then an or,
Yeah.
Pepper. The mic
Oh,
is...
wait.
Yep. Oh, I'm sorry, I flipped it because of the parentheses.
Yeah.
So-
So it's
So ME is in parentheses,
and that's got the
bar,
that's got the
vertical bar.
the NAND.
Yep. And then or Papa. The mic is a knot, so there are 2 knots, Lima and Mike.
And wait, between Papa and the parentheses is what? No,
An or.
Or, thank you. Papa or,
Yep.
not Mike, Nand, E.
Yes, correct.
Got it.
Bitmaps is 3.
Bitmaps is 3. Yes, it is. Nicely done, Rex. You're going to have to stick a moon here.
Oh, that's right. Go for it.
So you want the lits in clockwise, right?
Correct.
It's going from north to southeast.
Gotcha. How are we doing on time?
5 minutes. We're pushing it, but I think we'll get out.
All right, I've got your
Okay,
adjacent
let's
letters.
do it.
India, Delta, Sierra, Charlie.
Nicely done.
Thank you. Your logic is false, true?
False, true is good. Adventure game.
Yes, please.
We are, of course, fighting a demon, the scariest enemy. Stats are 0, 0, 0. We are 5'0". The temperature is, of course, 666 degrees. Gravity is 80.0, 80.0. And the pressure is, it's Halloween, it's 1031, 1031.
How many D batteries? How many?
1D,
How many double A's?
1D4 double A's. So we have the symbol, the trophy, and the battery. And our weapons are the longbow, the grimoire, and the magic orb.
Okay.
11 modules. Is that correct?
Yeah, correct.
All right, you can use the symbol. And the
All
longbow.
available experts, please report to room
That's good.
89.
Don't know if there's anything you can shadow on the moon.
No.
Feel free to go have a look at the stream if you want. See what this bomb looks like.
I would like to. Oh, good lord. I absolutely love it. It's beautiful.
We're coming up to a minute, Rex. Are you okay?
Yeah. Okay, ready.
Alright.
Inner southwest.
Yes.
Outer southeast.
So southeast, yep.
Outer west.
Yep.
Outer north.
All personnel,
Outer
please
Yep.
east.
evacuate to your nearest lot and report to
Um,
your supervisor.
Outer. 6. Oh God! 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Outer south.
No,
Outer
sorry, Rex.
northwest.
Start again. Go.
Inner southwest. Outer southeast. Outer west. Outer north. Outer east.
Fuck. Sorry, start again.
Inner southwest. Outer southeast.
Yeah.
Outer
Oh,
west.
We blew up. Ash's.
Where the mistake was your
No, Ash's bomb started shaking, and I didn't have time to wait for it to stop, so I had to just start trying to click.
Oh, sorry.
We were really close. We had like 2 things left to press on on the moon.
Oh my word.
Oh, what timing! That was a scary
Yeah.
bomb.
Thank you, Ash or Elias. That was great.
That bomb came courtesy of Elias. Thank you very much for that bomb, Elias.
That was amazing. Thank you.
Do you want to go look at the stream, Rex, and see what it looked like?
Sure thing.
You might have to go back a little bit.
Yeah, let's see. Live. Oh, that's cool. Oh my word, that's cool.
Elias just spent like a day working on that. Like a
Evil
full,
Dark
full
2.
fucking
Oh my gosh, the broken
all the
buttons is
broken
hilarious.
buttons. Yeah. Did you hear the stat? Did you hear the stats on Adventure Game?
Yeah, I did. I was giggling.
That was awesome.
Oh, oh, I wish I could have helped you out with the band better.
That's all right. We got a strike really early on, so we were pushing it on time.
Yeah, I'd love to see a log file, but now's not the time for it. Post one to me personally. And I'll look at it later.
All right.
I really don't know what I did wrong in the skewed slots. Chat may be able to tell me. Thank you, Scott. Okay.
All right. Happy Halloween, everyone.
Yeah,
Happy
yeah.
Halloween.
But yeah, thank you, Elias, for the bomb. Thank you, Ash, for the factory update as well. That was a lot of fun.
Okay, let's just see.
All right.
Okay.
So
Back to Centurion things.
yeah, now it's time to talk about the Centurion. Okay. It was 80. I missed the reference on 80 gravity. 80.0 gravity. Oh, it's Boo. It's Boo. Right. The gravity acceleration said Boo. All right. Let me just get my little notes back up for the Centurion here. So yeah, as Rex said earlier, pick your diffuser and pick your team size. So what would you base picking your diffuser on, Rex?
Part of it's you want to have a cohesive team. Whoever you think is the best diffuser, but maybe it's the guy who's not the best expert. I don't know. This guy's an excellent expert in our team.
Ouch.
But no.
Ouch, Sky. That's why we
Um,
picked.
No. You want to pick your best diffuser. Really, the bomb is scary. It's huge. I tried
All
diffusing
available
it.
experts,
I couldn't
please
remember
report
where I
to
got
room
modules
89.
from. I couldn't remember where the needy was. It's just really scary to me. I don't know how Sky does it. I have no idea how he did the Praetorian.
It is
He
difficult
just
to
said,
navigate.
"Oh, here's my orientation cube. Oh, here's your skewed slots. Here's your this." He gives me the modules right in order. I have no idea how he finds them. Even laundry, I had a hard time finding, and it's bright white. Yeah, it's you want to give the guy that's least scared of that.
I believe the term for it is bleached, not right.
Yeah, well, there you go. Also, the needy is really hard to handle. Sky does the needy, and I don't even scare, not even bothered by it. He remembers forget me not stages,
That kind of
which
thing. It does all just come with practice. Like when you've done it enough times, you start to remember it.
if you say so. But yeah, that's kind of stuff I think that makes the right diffuser.
So, yeah, there's a bit of prep work that you kind of want to be doing before you ever attempt a Centurion. And I think Silly's going to tell you a bit about what that would be.
Yes. So, going into our Centurion, we did a lot of planning. We used Google Sheets to figure out one of the most important things that you need to know, which is what is on this thing and who's good at what, who's going to take what kind of modules. I know where my strengths lie, and I know that Rex has quite a bit of overlap with me, but he also does things that I don't. So the things that were Rex specific are his, things that were me specific kind of became mine. And then we just sort of divvied up the rest and said, well, we'll figure out who gets what along the way. And I think over our practices, we started to figure out kind of who. It just kind of ended up being this normal thing that this sort of thing
Emergency
goes to Peppy,
cleared.
this sort
All
of thing goes to
personnel,
Rex.
please return to your stations.
Yeah, after a few failed attempts, your diffuser definitely starts to learn who gets what module.
Yep. So much of this focuses on you, Sky, or focuses on the diffuser. It's just so much of knowing just what your experts want, what they're good at, what they're going to be able to solve quickly, and most importantly, accurately. That's
Yeah.
Yes.
we'll get to that. We'll get to that in a bit. But knowing what's on the bombs and who's doing what is key. Um, and then, of course, for on top of that, you have to know the layout of what gets done for souvenir. Souvenir is that
Right.
thorn
Yeah.
in the side that just doesn't go away. So
Certainly is.
um, when you get, once you know once each of the experts and the diffuser knows what they're working on. It's about knowing which of those modules that you're going to be working on you need to retain your information for, and what information you need to retain on each of those.
Theon asks if it's best to give person-specific modules first. I'm not sure about that. Maybe a little yes, maybe a little whatever.
Yeah, I can
Well,
see that
I
being a benefit to ending the bomb with modules that either person could do, because you don't want to end up stacking, like, when you reach the end of the mission, you've got 5 modules that can only go to one person. So certainly with longer solve modules, if they're person-specific, then yes, maybe getting them out of the way earlier can be a benefit.
Yeah, and we'll get into ordering in a little bit, but that definitely does feed into there. Yeah, you don't want to end up going with the last 10 minutes of the bomb, having the person who does the FMN also having 5 modules that are specifically for them, and it's like the other guy's just kind of sitting there going, "What can I help with? What can I help with?" And the answer is nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sky did an amazing job of balancing. I think a lot of it is a testament to actually Rex and myself knowing how to do a 90% of the modules, each of us by ourselves. So if something was left over, it's like, all right, either of you guys can handle it.
Yeah.
But
There were not
you also
many
balance
modules
that.
that had to go to one person.
No, I know there's a few that I was like, I don't touch Zoo,
Yeah.
although I've gotten better, and that kind of stuff. But we'll get to that in a bit. The other things you need to know, the other main thing you really need to know when you're just starting out is the turn the keys modules. Turn the keys is going to be a thorn in your side until it's gone. So the thing that we decided early on was let's just get rid of it early, and that means getting your 6 mods done, and your 2 vanillas. Part of that actually ends up falling on Sky to find the 2 vanillas and find out whether they have to be done before or after the keys.
Right.
But once they're found, getting those done and getting them out of the way was big. But knowing which modules are on turn the keys is a big thing as well.
From experience, finding those 2 vanilla modules is such a pain. It is really hard. Finding, like, Forget-Me-Not and Laundry, not that bad. Finding the vanillas, they really hide themselves. On this bomb, I've been looking at this the whole time we've been talking. So far, I've only found one. I found this little vanilla button here. I can't see the other one. So it might take you a while to get the vanillas. Oh, here it is. There's the Who's on First there. Bear in mind, they do also look like the translated modules, which makes them even harder to spot, because sometimes you think that the Who's on First is a German one, when in actual fact you have a real one as well. So yeah, for the first little bit of the bomb, make sure you're really keeping an eye out for those vanillas. But yeah, in terms of things to discuss beforehand, as Silly said, work out which modules can be done for Souvenir, which ones can be done for Turn the Keys. But also, a big one that everyone should be aware of is which modules can you do preparation work for without getting any kind of read from the diffuser. Both people should be aware of a list of modules that they can go to if they run out of work, because this is one of the most important things about the mission. Make sure people are not idling. Reduce idle time as much as you can humanly manage. I've got 3 vanillas because it's no needy. I've got a password here as well. So, working out which modules can be prepped or partially prepped without a read is great. There are some that are more obvious. For example, I guess everyone knows that you can just go ahead and do a blind alley without getting a read. So whoever is assigned blind alley, there's no need to wait. Just go and do it if at any point you're needing some work. Don't prioritize it, because it can always be done in downtime. If you've got something that's been read, start with that first. And if by some chance you happen to run out of work at some point, which obviously it's the diffuser's job to give you work, so hopefully that you won't. But if you do run out of work, then you can go and do blind alley. But there's some that are less obvious that you may not have thought of. So for example, you can prepare a rock, paper, scissors. You can work out, assuming that there's like no decoy. Let's go take a look at rock, paper, scissors. You can work out what the winner would be in like row 1 and row 2 and row 3. Let's see if I can find rock, paper, scissors here. Here we go. So our decoy here is scissors. If we did some prep work beforehand and found out that paper was the winner in row 1, we'd have a solved module. But I would recommend prepping it until you find 2 winning different symbols. So if row 1, the winner is scissors, and row 2, the winner is paper. Our decoy is scissors, so obviously we'd have to ignore it, but on row 2, paper is our winner, so we can just go ahead and solve it. So there's some modules like that you can actually prep, partially or entirely, that you may not have considered. You can find out your starting position on tic-tac-toe without having been read the grid. So just find that out and write it down somewhere. 3D maze, you can work out your starting coordinates without having been read any information. I think we'll be going through a list of modules later on specifically, so we'll try and mention all the modules later on that can be prepped. But you can do work for bitwise operators, for Simon Screams, for battleships, for semaphore, for 2-bits. There's all sorts, for plumbing. So we'll come back to that a little bit later on.
I guess the next thing you also have to figure out when you're planning is who's going to be your turn the keys guy, or girl. In our case, it was me. That's the person who's going to sort of keep track of everything that's going on with turn the keys. So making a list of the modules you need to do, and tick them off as you go. Again, there are 6 modded modules plus the 2 vanillas that you may have to do. Let's see. Right, so we want to. So you need to know which ones, and Sky, that also fell on you because you were really good at knowing which of the modules were before turn the keys and which were after. There's 6 of each.
It's definitely something for your diffuser to learn before the bomb. They do not want to be relying on the experts to find out what they can and can't do. Especially for soloable stuff. You don't want to accidentally do your combination lock because, I know how to do that as a solo diffuser, and then realize that you've fucked turn the keys.
Now, in our case, we had most of the turn the keys modules ended up falling on my lap, but Rex was definitely the orientation cube guy, the color flash guy. So the modules for turn the keys can go across multiple experts, but you kind of need one guy to keep track of what's being done for turn the keys and to let the diffuser know that turn the keys is ready to go when it is ready to go. You can do the right key and then the left key. We didn't want to deal with remembering what you can do before one and the other, so we just said get everything done for both keys and just do them at the same time. So that was
I've no idea which key orientation cube is related, which 2-bits is related to. Just do it all in one big lump. Yeah.
Just do all that you need and get rid of them. Other things you guys would need to know, you definitely want to be focused on this task. This task is going to take a couple hours, if not more. Every time we've solved it, it wasn't on the first attempt of the day. But you want to make sure you're going to be focused on it, which means you're not going to be able to go to the bathroom during the bomb. You're not going to be able to get up and get food and drink during the bomb. You're not going to be able to answer the door or sign for a package or order your dinner. I mean, this is something that if you're going to get started on, you need full attention. Of all 3 of us, I was the one probably with the most distraction. My wife always comes home from work in the middle of our Centurion attempt, and I wanted to greet her home. She says sorry, but but yeah, you definitely want to be able to. You definitely want to be able to focus and give your full attention to it. If you have a room where you can close yourself off into it, I would recommend bringing a couple bottles of water or whatever you like to drink and bringing it in there, and whatever snacks you need, and to focus. The time goes by quickly.
Get rid of distractions.
Yeah, lock yourself away. This is a very intensive task. Something you're gonna want to do. And once you do it, you kind of want to do it once, but we did it twice, 3, 4 times at this point. You definitely want to just focus on it and know, like, Tell mom, tell your wife, tell your son, tell your nephew who's staying over for the weekend. Just this is your time.
I always like to mute my phone and also mute Chrome tabs as well, like mute Facebook and WhatsApp, so I wasn't getting messages.
When you start a bomb, you want to have everything be consistent. I like having the edge work be in a consistent order. I really like that.
Yeah.
I like batteries first, battery holders next, lit indicators next, unlit indicators, all the ports, then the port plates, then finally the serial number. If I don't get that, my notes are out of order. I'm more likely to make a mistake. I can deal with it, but oh God, no, please no.
You want to make things as easy on your experts as possible, so there's nothing wrong with having a consistent order.
Um,
Not just that. It's
usually,
it's about the rhythm. Sorry, Rex.
no, go ahead.
It's about
Um,
it's about creating that rhythm that everybody kind of knows what to expect.
I like getting the. Actually, I normally like getting the forget me not stage after edge work because my edge work takes up a variable amount of space, and the forget me not goes below that. But for the Centurion and the Praetorian, forget me not's going on a separate piece of paper dedicated to forget me not. I can get that early. I can get that whenever. You want to get the turn the key time. I saw somebody mention, what about turn the key? Oh, that's the ought. Um, Puppy would set a timer for that to help remember when to remind Sky. Um, that's kind of a good thing to do.
Yeah, just have an
Um,
actual like alarm clock on your mobile. Yeah.
in general, you want the consistency thing. You want to have a game plan. I'm doing laundry first. I'm trying to get that in on the 6 modules solved. Um, all that kind of stuff. You want to know who's doing each of the modules for the turn the keys. Um, yeah, Puppy.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, we kind of established after the first couple runs, we started to realize like first thing we do is we're going to set Rex up with laundry, and meanwhile, Sky and I are going to work 2 bits and immediately start working on getting off of the immediately start getting the turn the keys items squared away,
Right.
and he'd get out some reads that really helped us get through the beginning of the bomb. And if you watch some of our attempts, if you watched our live attempts and you watched our solves, you'll see that the beginning of the bomb, I mean, we are flying. We are getting way ahead of the clock on those. And that's a big thing, just to know like the things that I would immediately prepare right off the bat. As soon as edge work is read, I'm heading for 2 bits. I'm heading for fast math. I'm bringing up the keypad, the round keypad manual, just because I know what we're going to want to get out of the way first.
People should be heading straight to battle stations without needing to be told where they're going. So
Absolutely.
yeah, Silly knows the modules. I'm going to be giving him crazy talking around keypads, and he can prepare 2 bits without being asked. That's a preparation module. Rex knows that he's straight on laundry, and like as a diffuser, I know my task is to do the edge work, to read out the first stage of Forget Me Not, get the key time, and then give Rex a couple of quick reads, like give him like a Rubik's Cube or a skewed slot that he can just work on while me and Silly get the keys out of the way. And then I also know that I need to keep an eye out for like where my needy is on the bomb, where the vanillas are, all that kind of thing. So everyone knows their tasks for the first kind of 10 minutes of the bomb, really. You could almost do it without speaking to each other, except for like submitting answers.
Oh, Chuck Norris knows that turn the key time is coming up. That's interesting.
Oh, I'll try and turn it when we get there. Yeah.
Yeah, turn the key is just nasty because you miss it, you're done. That's it.
You bomb.
There's no second chance. There's no second chance if you miss TTK.
Yeah, the keys break you if you get them wrong. GG. So yeah, as I just kind of mentioned, as well as kind of the actual game plan of the modules to go to, as a diffuser, once you load this beast up, you really want to just get a feel for what's on it and where things are as well. So take a moment to just kind of soak in, where is your Forget Me Not? Where is your needy? If you forget the needy and you've got to hit it in the last 3 seconds because it starts screaming at you, you need to be able to get straight to it. So where is your needy? Where is your Forget Me Not? Where's the souvenir as well, if the souvenir starts pinging you? Just get a feel for like where things generally are on the bomb. And as I mentioned, do make sure that you find your key and your vanillas as well. The vanillas are important. So get a feel for what's actually going on.
Laundry. I really like doing laundry at 6 modules because all the numbers work out good. You got 0 solved, Um, whatever. And for a Centurion, you got equivalent to 4 unsolved. Everything's mod 6. So 100 modules mod 6 is 4. So I write down on my paper 0 and 4, and I can go. If I miss 6, if Sky goes beyond that, we can do it for 12. Everything's fine when it's mod 6. Likewise for combo lock, everything's fine when it's mod 20. There are 20 digits on the combo lock. Just wait till it's mod 20. You gotta wait for the keys to be done before your combo lock. Oh God,
That's so
you
easy to
miss your
miss.
turn
Yeah.
the keys. You miss your turn the keys and break them, and it's time for a new bomb. Um,
Yep.
you don't want
I've done that
that.
before, but more than once, definitely. So yeah, as well as those two, like speaking of being aware of the modules to do at certain times, doing the square button at a multiple of 7 on the timer. So one of the square button conditions is oh, you're breaking up a bit, Rex. Is my internet going?
All robots. Puppy sample. Are you a robot?
Are we moving to
It
Skype?
looks like a robot.
Um,
You sound okay to me.
The stream
Yeah,
quality looks fine. So I think it's a Discord issue.
yeah.
Should we quickly migrate over to Skype?
Go to Skype. Will we still be broadcasting? I guess we will.
Alright, just bear with us,
Okay.
guys. Discord servers seem to be having some issues. I'm going to turn this key and then go to Skype. So, yeah, like my stream quality, like the video seems to be okay. So,
We're not robots anymore.
Oh.
Let's stay here.
We can stay.
okay, if it happens again, we'll migrate over to Skype. But the video seems to be fine, so I don't think it's my connection. It just seems like Discord might be having some issues.
Yeah.
That's something to check as well for the Centurion. Make sure your internet's not going to have any issues. If you've
Yeah,
been
you
dropping,
remember
Yeah.
the live stream? You remember the live stream we had where my internet went out for a good 15 minutes and
yeah, it can
it
happen.
turned a successful run into shit very quickly.
So if you have unreliable internet, make sure you like restart your router before you get going or whatever. So yeah, as I was saying, sorry, Rex.
Yeah. Go. No, I was just wanting you to finish. Go
Yeah,
on.
so one of the conditions, if you look at the square button manual page, says release the button when the timer seconds add up to a multiple of 7. Or not add up to, they total of a multiple of 7.
That includes the minutes converted to seconds. That's right.
Right. So you need to be tactful with when you hold down and release this button, because if you happen to get that condition, which is it flashing cyan?
It's flashing
Yes.
cyan.
You don't want to have to do lots of calculations. So we always try to do the square button when the minutes are coming up to a multiple of 7. So if you did this at, for example, 70 minutes, then that is 70 times 60 seconds, which comes out at 4,200. But more importantly, 4,200 is a multiple of 7.
So you can cut the minutes out completely.
Yes,
That's right.
so you
You
can
can
just
do it at 749, 735, 756, whatever's a multiple of 7.
Right.
You're good.
the minutes essentially cancel out because you know that those whole minutes are a multiple of 7. So hold the square button just before you're coming up to minute 7 or 14 or 21 or 28, and it lets you just ignore that during the calculation.
That's a good tip to do on any bomb. If you see a square button, hand that out early, and then wait to hold it until your minutes are between 8 and 7, say, 14 and 15, whatever you've got. Try to hold that button when you've got a multiple of 7 minutes. If you don't, and you get the flashing cyan, oh God, that's a big mess for the expert.
Yeah. Silly, you want
Yep,
to talk about strikes?
Yeah, let's talk about strike-dependent modules. So there are a few modules on the bomb that the solves change depending on the number of strikes you have. If you've played the vanilla game, you know, for example, Simon Says, if you have 1 or 2 strikes or more strikes, it changes the solution. You want to do those as early as possible so that before you get your first strike, and you will. We have not had a clean solve at all.
No,
so,
not yet.
when you do strike, that you don't want to have to resolve things or worry about that. Try to get those out of the way nice and early. Keep in mind, however, things like Simon Says is a post turn the key module, so please be careful of that as well.
We've also got the case of probing. Probing, occasionally when you strike, the condition changes. So give that out early, because if you've given someone probing and then you strike, you might have to reread it.
Fizzbuzz is another one you want to give out early, because if you get 2 strikes, you've got a whole new problem. You want to give that out in general early before the strikes.
I mean, hopefully you
Before the
wouldn't
strikes.
be getting 2 strikes anywhere before like the last 10 modules of the bomb, really. But if you do, then yeah, Fizzbuzz wants to be done already. There's a couple other things as a diffuser that you can do early on, as well as finding some of the constant modules like Forget Me Not and Souvenir and the Needy. Also check for things like check Monsplode Fight. See if one of the attacks is countdown, for instance. Because if it is, then you want to do that as quickly as you can, like while the timer's still up. But obviously, don't assume it's actually correct. Don't press it without checking with your expert first.
Of course, because there's a chance that style of attack does no damage, for example.
Right.
Also, you want to think about the modules that are dependent on like releasing or pressing things when the timer is at a certain value, because when your timer speeds up, that gets more tricky. Like you have to press, for example, astrology when the timer is at a certain number, which becomes harder if your timer is going at like 1.5 speed or something. So try and do your timer-based modules before the timer is going to speed up. Do your square button earlier rather than later, so that you don't have to release at difficult times. Do your astrology. Color flash is kind of a given because obviously you have to do it for keys, so ideally that should be definitely happening early. Same with Crazy Talk, really. But square button and astrology are definitely 2 to look out for. Astrology especially, because astrology you ignore for turn the keys, which makes it really easy to forget that it's there. So as soon as turn the keys are done, astrology is one to actually go and think about doing.
Was that something that Sky? I didn't even notice. Is that something that you kind of went straight to after the?
It's not really, no. This was actually a point that Elias, I think, made while we were thinking about this stream today and like tips for the Centurion, and I think it's a fair point that timer-based modules you want to get out of the way early. We want to talk about. Okay, so after our section there, we want to really talk about the harder modules. Now, there's all kinds of philosophies on what you want to do as far as, I mean, it's obviously the modules range in difficulty from excessively easy to really difficult ones. And you ask yourself, well, when do you want to do the really hard modules? Do you want to do them at the beginning? Do you want to do them near the middle or the end? Do you want to spread them out? We found that doing them near the beginning, kind of loading the beginning up with the harder modules, and we're talking, we're talking laundry for sure. Adjacent letters, which these modules that tend to just get you when you kind of bite you when you least expect them. We wanted to do them early so that if we did screw up very early in the bomb, it was an easy, quick restart and we're done with it. Other examples, other reasons you want to start earlier, do those modules earlier, is because you get to learn them by doing them more often if you do that. If you do them at the beginning of the bomb, and you're doing them when you're less tired. Module fatigue definitely sets in by the time you're 50, 60, 70, 80 modules into the bomb. Yeah, for sure.
You don't really want to like have something critical and go, or have something that you're thinking about, like, oh God, I still have to do this, later. I'm dreading it.
You can kind of base this on your group specifically. Like, there are some modules that maybe aren't generally considered particularly hard, but if your experts keep fucking you up on text field, start with it. Do it early.
Yeah, I mean, we did save some modules for the end. More schematics was one, but that was mostly because we were worried about data entry for that one. So that was but on the other hand, we did take things like adjacent letters and just get those out of the way once we're done with turn the keys and the whole bomb is sort of open to us to work. Then we can, you kind of gave me some of the harder modules and was like, okay, let's get these done. Easier stuff, it's nice you actually saved some of the easier stuff for later, which sort of becomes critical after our first strike, which we'll talk about in a bit.
Yeah, web design is of course an obvious exception to this rule as well, because you can YOLO web design.
You can YOLO web design. I spent a good amount of time when we decided to start working Praetorian. Spent a good amount of time just practicing over and over web design until I felt like I was at least 80 or 90% confident with it. But for like all our Centurion runs, yeah, it was just one of those. I don't think I ever got it right, and it was maddening. So, if you have strikes to spare at the very far end of the bomb, spend them and just get it out of the way.
Yeah.
Pardon me, Peppy. On a Praetorian run, you were strikeless.
Well, thank
You
you.
got it right that time.
I did. I was very happy.
For the longest bomb, yeah.
Yeah.
So, kind of the next thing we're going to talk about is patience and the way that manifests when you're doing these kind of runs, and practice as well, because there's quite a lot to do with that when you're talking about such a huge challenge. The first thing is accept the fact that you are going to fail a lot. We've done this challenge twice now, but both times it took us more than 30 attempts to actually get the solve in. The first was probably more than 50. I don't know quite how many it was, but it was 2 weeks worth of attempts, and we were attempting a few times most days for that 2 weeks, and we got it in pretty much exactly 14 days after we started. So that's 14 days. I would say average 3 attempts a day at least. I think it did.
Oh no, more than that.
Well, there were some days we didn't
that.
do any at all, so it averaged out
No,
maybe.
no.
You still think it averaged more?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
We get like 15, 20 attempts per day. We'd often get to 10 modules.
Fair enough.
To 10 modules. We get to 10 modules. Oh God, you're gonna fail.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's
Don't
fair.
let them
Probably
discourage
was
you.
fairly easily more than 50 attempts then for that first Praetorian. So, failed attempts, don't worry about it. It's going to happen a lot. Try not to be disheartened by it, and there's benefits to it as well.
Well, certainly you learn the early modules. You get
Right.
to know. You get to establish a rhythm.
As the diffuser, it really starts to teach you about your experts. Failed attempts are the ones where you learn which modules should be going to which experts. You should be hearing fewer and fewer times of your expert saying, that's not my module, when you're doing these failed attempts.
Yes. Well, all these failed attempts. I mean, you're gonna get upset about them. You're gonna get kind of ticked about. Oh my God, that was a dumb mistake. But when you do get those mistakes, don't just immediately get rid of the bomb. If you have stuff that's been worked on, if there's a module that you're having trouble with that you were in the middle of, early on, if you have trouble with round keypad, submit it. Get the practice done. Get it making, and if you've done the work, why not see if you did it right? It's really important to identify what your weak spots are and what you're going to do better.
Yeah, even if you're going to throw the bomb away, you might as well cash things in if they're ready to go.
Elias was really key. If you have somebody who's like following your stuff, he gave us spreadsheets of where we failed and where we got our strikes, and apparently orientation cube was one of those things I didn't do well. And it's kind of nice. Know where you're having problems. You know when to slow down.
Yeah. Other things you need to know. Don't start an attempt if you're not going to have a chance to finish it. That's kind of a thing. You don't want to, if you only have an hour to go, before you have to go out, or you have to get ready to go out, or going out for dinner. If you only have an hour, you're not going to get a 2-hour bomb done in it. I don't care how good you are. So just make sure you understand. Our first successful Centurion attempt, we finished, and I think it was 3 a.m. by Sky, and it was probably a little too late to really get started, but somehow he managed to stay awake through it.
Yeah, by the end of the Praetorian, it was more than 4 o'clock in the morning, so you don't want to be in my position. It's really easy to forget, because an hour, usually in this game, that's time for a few more bombs. Not with the Centurion. You have to end this at least an hour and a half, maybe. Yeah. It's better 2 hours, really, before you would actually have to leave.
Yeah, you want to, when you have failed on an attempt, give yourself a minute to relax, to reset. Rex is really good at pacing us to reset, and it's important to do so. Don't get upset about it. Don't just, all right, we failed, let's try again. Let's try again immediately. It's just, one second. There we go. you give yourself time to think about what's going on. Give yourself time to just kind of calm yourself down and get over the disappointment of a failed attempt, and then it's not a race. It's not a it's not who it's not, you don't if you don't get it done today, you'll get it done tomorrow. It's just a matter of uh, of doing it at an enjoyable pace. Don't make it
Yeah, you're gonna
don't
just
make
get.
don't make it a job. That's for sure.
Right.
And don't
You're just gonna get more and more frustrated if you keep just like
absolutely.
blitzing through attempts. Just take a breather in between.
One of the things you want to decide amongst the team is when's the point of no return? When do you just finish the bomb? That you've got 10 strikes, but there's no way you need all 10 strikes. If you get early on, if you get 3 strikes early on, your clock is going at 2 times space. You don't have enough time to get it done. Really, if you get a first strike before module 50, it's time to restart. Unless you're just trying to do what we sometimes did and just see how far we can get. You really want to discuss as a team. For the Praetorian, we thought it was 80 modules in. A strike before module 80 was too early. When you do that, you're going to get used to the modules at the very beginning. I got really good at laundry. Oh, God. I got sick of laundry. But, that was my module, and Puppy got his modules. And so, that's part of what's going on.
Yeah.
I'll add as well, just to, when you're working out like what you're going to consider your point of no return, base it on how fast you've been. Like, just be aware of how quickly you're solving modules, how far ahead of the time you are. Because for some groups, they could afford to strike at module 50 and may still have time to get out of the bomb. If you're a little bit slower, you might not be able to strike until mod 75. So do some maths, work out, like, based on a strike speeding up the timer, actually do some calculations and work out where you think your point of no return is. But yeah, I think one big thing for the bomb as well is plan around striking, kind of assume you will strike. Like Silly said before, we've struck on every successful attempt so far. Strikes are almost inevitable. Individual people might be clean. Silly somehow managed to stay clean for an entire Praetorian, which is ridiculous. But as a group, you're going to strike at some point, almost certainly. Did Elias strike on his EFN? I think he did somewhere, right? Did he get one?
I believe he did, yes.
Yeah, it's such an endurance test. A strike will happen somewhere. Often in the most ridiculous places as well. We strike on microcontroller and bulb, it happens. So don't necessarily assume that a strike is going to end your run. Do think about where you're up to in the bomb. That's why the point of no return exists. Work out where you think you can strike and still be okay to finish. And of course, strikes get less dangerous the further in you are because they do speed up the timer. So plan everything around the assumption that at some point you are going to strike, which is why it's so important to get like strike dependent modules in earlier in the solves and that kind of thing.
Elias says he struck on Sully slots. I don't think that's one of Elias's least favorite modules. Oh well, I love it, Elias.
Yeah, as we said, you may want to finish a bomb that you've already struck on, even if it's early. Our first day attempting Centurion, we had a bunch of failed attempts, 12 modules in, 18 modules in, but then we got to about 40. And then we struck and we said, well, we know we're not going to solve it, but we're 40 in. Let's just see where 40 goes to.
Right.
Like, if we strike at 40, where does this get us? And it ended up getting us to about 86, 87.
Yeah, we knew we wouldn't solve it, but it was a nice benchmark.
And we were like, oh, okay, so that's we kind of got an idea of where we're going. Make sure that everybody on the team knows kind of where the threshold is. If we strike at 40, we continue. If we strike at 39 or earlier, we kill the bomb. And just so everybody knows whether or not they can expect to keep working at that point, and whether or not they think it's like really an attainable target at that point.
And I think it can be good for morale to finish a bomb that you're not going to solve as well. Like we knew we're not going to solve the bomb that we struck at 40, but getting all the way to like solve 88 before running out of time, we're all there thinking like we did 90% of that bomb. It doesn't take much more of a push to get to a solve.
And after we did that, we discussed immediately like, okay, so we lost how much time to the clock because of that first strike. Getting that time back would buy us, 6 more modules, and we're like, oh, okay, well pretty much puts us at the end. And you know, as we've mentioned before, Centurion was kind of my idea to try to attack, and I don't think Sky and Rex really felt it was an achievable goal until we had that bomb that we finished with 40 with our first strike at 40, and they went
Yeah,
kind of
sure.
went, tilted their head and were like, all right, maybe this is something we can do. So that's important. Speaking of which, I know it when you look at that bomb on Sky screen right now, it does look like a really big, ugly, impossible task. It's not impossible, but it is big and ugly. Yeah, you're gonna have a lot of attempts that don't make it past 20 solves, and that's totally cool.
I think our first attempts we failed on 2 bits several times, not picking on Piper, but yeah,
That's me. No, that's me. I wasn't a
uh,
master of 2 bits at that time, but if you watch the stuff that we have solved and you watch Praetorian and you watch any of our other attempts that have 2 bits on it, you'll see that now 2 bits is instantaneously I'm ready to give Sky an answer and it's the correct one.
Usually. No, I'm joking.
Hey now. I mean, we've had such incredible things. We've had days where we couldn't seem to get past 15 solves, and then all of a sudden, just this incredible bomb comes through where we are all together and it just all works.
If you are failing time after time on like the first 10, 15, 20 modules of the bomb, just wait for the breakthrough, because at some point it will happen, and it's kind of liberating. I feel like there is like a brick wall on this challenge that you just break through at some point.
And it's funny as it can be on the same day where you're like, okay, I feel completely unfocused. This isn't going to happen, and then all of a sudden it sort of does. It's really kind of a magical thing.
Yeah, the Praetorian happened on a day that you considered an off day, right?
Yes.
yeah.
Oh God, the Praetorian was an awful day. We were going nowhere, and I felt completely out of sorts.
Yeah.
Just completely out of sorts, and then comes this,
Just magically happens. Yeah. Crazy.
Crazy bomb.
Crazy shaky bomb.
Crazy bomb.
It's a Halloween Centurion.
Asher monster.
But yeah, I think there's a good reason that so many attempts fail right near the start, and it's because, to begin with, there's like so many things happening in the first 10-15 minutes. Like, obviously the diffuser has a ton of things to do and find. The experts know the modules they're going to. They're usually getting good with those modules as well, so everyone is very quickly burning through lots of modules. The first 10-15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes, can really like overwhelm you just while you're getting those keys done. It's very easy to make silly mistakes while that's happening. Yes. So lots of failed attempts happen in those first 20 modules, and then kind of as soon as you get the keys out of the way, I think that's the wall. I think as soon as the keys are done, you start like you glide from there, and attempts will quite often go way past 20 once you do those keys.
It's actually kind of weird because I remember us doing some of these things, and I'm hearing during each of our attempts, I hear you calling out FMN numbers after every solve, but it doesn't sink in like I've heard 45. Like 45 just kind of flies past my head, and then all of a sudden we get to a point where you're telling Rex, stage 83 is this, and I'm like, 8? Like how the hell did we just get to 83? Like I almost asking myself, like, where was I for all this? You get into this rhythm, you keep your head down into your work.
You're in your zone.
Churning out correct answer after correct answer, and before you know it, you're at the doorstep. It really, it's very kind of magical that way.
And I think the keys relaxes everyone. Once you get the keys out of the way and you feel like the shackles are off, like you don't have to avoid certain modules anymore, all that kind of thing. Yeah, I think there is definitely a wall that you break through. So don't be disheartened if you don't hit that wall for a while.
Yeah.
So I think the next thing that we're going to talk about is we're going to give like specific diffuser tips and expert tips. So far we've talked about just like general planning and that kind of thing.
Sure.
So we'll start off with things that are very specific to the diffuser and what you should be doing if you are the unfortunate one sat behind the bomb. So, oh, thank you. So the first big thing is always be thinking about how you can help out where you can. And again, this is one kind of like the prep work, that there are modules that you may not have realized or thought about the fact that you can actually take some of the workload off your expert. So like, for example, astrology. The first part of astrology is do the letters of your symbols appear in the serial number. if you know your symbols for astrology, which it's a good thing to learn as the diffuser, we've got Earth here. Let's go take a look at our serial. Where is the serial here? We've got an H, so that's in Earth, +1. We've got Jupiter. We've got a J, that's +2. And we've got Gemini. Gemin, we don't have, so that's a -1. So overall, my offset for the serial for this is +1. So if I tell my expert I've got Earth, Jupiter, Gemini, and the serial offset's +1, I've done half the work for them. So you can really take some of the workload off your experts with certain things. As a diffuser, perhaps you're comfortable with working out your 3D maze coordinates. As long as you can remember the phrases Help I'm Lost and Maze Gamer, you could do a bit of mental maths and actually work out where you need to start and end in the 3D maze and do half the work for your expert there. Can you shortcut Semaphore? So if you take a look at Semaphore, depending on how many letters and numbers you have in the serial, you might be able to shortcut it. So I've only got 2 numbers in my serial here. If we take a look at Semaphore, we've got 1 number, 2 numbers. We've only got 2 numbers, but if I happen to have more than 2 numbers in the Semaphore, then you know that you don't even have to consider the letters, because one of those numbers is guaranteed not in the serial. So there's a few modules like that where, as a diffuser, you can help your experts out by doing some of the work for them. So always be thinking about what you can do. Another big thing as a diffuser is try and read modules before you get to them. It's really easy for me to say, silly, we're doing Morsematics, and then I go over to Morsematics and sit here reading it. And this is, I think, actually what I did during the bomb. Me sit here, go, okay, it's dot, dot, dash, dot, and then dash, and then I could already have done this. I read Morsematics first, and then I say to Silly, we're doing Morsematics. And then give him the read just, immediately, without him sitting there waiting for the read. There's no reason for him to be sat there waiting. So for things like Morse modules, do the read and then call your expert over. That also goes for things like bitmaps. You can do your counts before you even mention that you have a bitmaps ready to go. What else have I got here? You can...
Rhythms.
You can work out your rhythms before you actually call your expert over to the module. There's a few that are like that. Work out whether you've got poops in your modules against humanity. So do your reads before you call over your expert. I think Silly might have something to add to that as well.
Yes, there I am. You should, as an expert, while everything's going on, you really want to be able to take down your info that your diffuser gives you without any context. So there were times where Sky would read out to me, okay, I have the word slick. And I would just write down the word slick. Like, don't even worry about which module it goes to. Just hold it to the side, and he'll get back to you on that, because the diffuser just has so much going on. But you need to be support. You need to be support for that, and almost like a secretary. If there's things that need to be written down or things that he wants you to take care of, just to note, write it down. And you can figure out later what exactly that goes to.
Right, first, ask questions later.
Right, and if you're smart, if you're smart and sharp about it, and you go, okay, so, he gave me 3 colors. That could be Simon Screams. It could be perspective pegs. If you understand what he's looking at, you can kind of start heading towards that manual page and get ready for that kind of stuff. Time management through this entire thing. I don't know if we talk about time management later on, but one of the things you have to realize is there is enough time to do things. There really is, but you have to be efficient with it. So give your expert, give your diffuser all the time you can, and save yourself time later.
The timer on this mission does not become truly vicious until you get a strike. That's when it becomes a fucker.
Right. Yeah.
We talk about that. I think we talk about that a little later.
We'll come back to this definitely at some point. But this kind of ties in with what I'm saying. Like, if you have worked out one of your Morse reads and you're kind of busy doing other things, just shout it at one of your experts to write down, and then come back to it later, instead of them sitting there waiting for you to read the Morse while they could be doing something else. So as an expert, just be ready to write things down.
if the diffuser can learn Morse, that's a huge advantage. If you
Big,
can
big help.
say letters instead of dot dot dash dot,
Yeah.
or you can say that's foxtrot, that's a huge advantage. And it's not just Morsematics; it's color Morse. It's so many Morse modules. It's such a big help. Um, it's not that hard. I did it, over a course of a couple hours. It really is, sounds like a lot harder than it is. I started with vanilla Morse. I only learned the letters that were necessary for that one module. It's not the whole alphabet. I still am weak about Quebec and Yankee
Yeah, me
and
too.
golf and whiskey, but I got most of them down.
Yeah.
Um,
You guys are all amazed by my nonograms, but honestly, learning nonograms is probably less work than learning Morse.
oh, well, I'm impressed with that. Um, Gamepad. There's a few special finalization rules that are tricky. If you can recognize them, anybody on the team, if you can recognize a highly composite number, which is 1, 2, 4, 6, and then it's like multiples of 12 up to 60, it's real easy to recognize them. If anybody who recognizes them, shout it out. If you got A equals 1 plus D, oh God, that's a bitch. If you don't recognize it, you're going to get that gamepad wrong. So if you call it out, anybody who notices it,
I've
you're a team.
I've got a 31 here, so I would be saying to Rex that I've got a prime number if I'm reading out my gamepad. This is a more general point as well. Like any module that you think you've got some extra info that can help out, say it. Like if you've got a module and it's seashells. Oh, Rex, remember to write down seashells for souvenir.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah, if you think you can help out, if you remember the souvenir module, if you think that you could potentially be looking at a unicorn rule on a module, say it. Help your expert out. So another big thing as a diffuser, I think this is maybe the biggest point I can say for a diffuser, is managing the way that you divide up your modules carefully to save yourself time.
Yep.
One of the biggest rules, like rules of thumb, to stick by during the bomb is giving one expert big things to do while you do interactive modules with another one. So if I give Rex my skewed slots and my Rubik's Cube, that's going to take him 2 minutes to do. And then while he's doing those, I can go and do some interactive modules where I need to talk with Silly through the solution to another module, so we can go and do a broken buttons, and where we have to talk to each other because Rex is not going to need to interrupt. So try and balance it so that one expert is doing big long solved modules while the other one is interacting with you on something that's a back and forth. I could have Silly on my adjacent letters while I'm working out my starting position on Mystic Square with Rex.
The worst thing you can do is get stuck in a section, near the end where all of a sudden you've got a bunch of interactives with both experts, but there's only one of you.
Yeah, that's another big thing. Prioritize interactives where you can. So always try and be doing an interactive with someone if possible. Saving what I would say a quick read, slow solve modules for as long as possible can be really helpful. That is things like, I think the prime example on this bomb I can think of would be neutralization. Neutralization is such a fast module to call out. If I can actually find it here. Sorry, my lights are off, so it's a little bit trickier.
Skewed slots.
Skewed slots is another good one. Yeah, so all I need to do is, if I'm doing something with Silly, and Rex tells me I'm idle, I've got nothing to do, there are certain modules which are just the perfect things to give out. Neutral, 5 blue. It's going to take Rex a minute to do that, and it took me less than a second to read the information required. I'm not seeing my skewed here. I've seen it before, but yeah, Rex 446 skewed. Done. It's a long module, relatively speaking, that takes me almost no time at all to read out. So if your time management fails at any point, if you haven't got enough work on your expert to get going with, and someone ends up idle, there are certain modules which are like the ideal things to give out in those situations, so be aware of that. If Rex runs out of work, he's going to be getting neutralization if I'm busy. Even saving like quick read, quick solve modules, like for example Shapeshift, is not going to take too long, but at least it's a fast read.
Text field as well.
Text field, lettered keys, alphabet. saving some of these fast ones are still good for just filling in small gaps in the bomb. If I'm almost done with an interactive with Silly, and Rex can just go and quickly do my shapeshift for me while he's waiting, that's fine as well. They're good things to save. They're also really good if you can save them for as long as possible. Those quick modules are great for later in the bomb, just to kind of take a breather moment. I'm sure you're aware it's a very difficult challenge, and if at module 70 I can just say, hey Rex, take my text field, Silly, grab my bulb, and just kind of take that just nice and easy break from the long calculation modules, that's really nice as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead. You.
So,
Yeah, this is me, right? There we go. Yes. You want to also change the kinds of modules that you give your expert. If I've done a bunch of, I find that Sky was really good about giving me something interactive after I've done a whole bunch of things sort of on my own. I sometimes even felt like, when I had my head down for so long and just doing my own thing for such a long time, that it was really nice when I was actually like a very refreshing thing for me. Like, Silly, you want to do some interactives? I'm like, oh, absolutely, definitely do. Switch from interactives back to expert intensive stuff. Switch up math modules with other kinds of modules. It just changing what your expert is doing as a diffuser, kind of helping manipulate their thinking and pacing.
Yeah, try and keep that variation out, just so we're not glazing over.
Yeah.
I missed a question that I'll just quickly take earlier. Ginger Pig asked if I'm making notes if I do the reads. No, I would consider that cheating. It's a bit open to interpretation. Some people, I guess, would be okay with the diffuser taking notes. But no, as a diffuser, I never write things down. So I'm committing things to memory, or if I don't want to do that, I'll shout at one of my experts to write down. So if I do take a Morse read, I'll just remember it, or I'll say, Silly, JLX, and then we'll come back to it later. As a diffuser, there may well be some modules that you know some cases for, but not all. A good one for me is piano keys. I know the first two rules, but after that I don't know any. So if you know some cases for some modules, take a look at them before you get round to a read for your expert, because you don't want to come to, say, cryptography and start reading out a big long sentence and then realize after you've done the read, oh wait, I know the sentence and I can just do it myself. Oh, it's Scrooge knew he was dead. Of course he did. Like, I don't want to have to go 2-6 or 2-7-3 or 2-3 and then go, oh wait, I know this, and then I've wasted 10 seconds of Rex's time. So if you think you know some conditions for some modules, go check them out before you think to read them to your expert. Although, of course, if you're going to solo crypto, remember to do it after Turn the Keys, because it's a Turn the Keys banned module. I've said a lot, try and do interactives with experts. And I think Silly can probably attest that one thing that I really like doing, if I'm about to go to an interactive, is reading a solvable module first. If my expert has nothing solvable to work on, and I'm doing an interactive with them, all it takes is for Rex to say, Sky, I need you, or for us to finish the interactive module, and then Silly has nothing at all to do. If you've got time to do an interactive with your expert, that means you've got time to give them a read. So, give them a read first. I'm going to say, Silly, here's your adjacent letters, and then assuming Rex is still busy doing whatever he's doing, now we'll go to an interactive, because if I get pulled away from that, at least Silly has work. Depending on your expert as well, they might even be happy to work on a long solve module in between stages of an interactive. If I'm waiting to see if my expert has the word that I've just said in word search, I can do a little bit of my long calculation module. If I'm waiting for the the correct roll in Yahtzee while to be read out, then I can work on mine. So giving a solvable before doing the interactive, I think that's really helpful.
I agree. As a diffuser, you definitely want to keep an eye. One of the things I wanted to bring up was to keep an eye on the timer and solve count. I know I asked for this on occasion. I would ask, how many solves do we have? How much time do we have? just to kind of get an idea of where we are. This kind of let me know, as a diffuser, you can really let people know whether they have time to double check their work, or if they just need to not rush. You don't never want your experts rushing, but whether or not you have to.
Well, sometimes you do.
Yeah.
If you're way behind on time, you might. But
Yeah, reading FMN numbers, for example. But you want to. I always like to know whether or not, hey, I've got this light cycle. Light cycle is one of those that I just always solve twice. I don't know why, but that's just one of those things I want to be able to do. So having Sky tell me whether or not I have time to do a second run on light cycle is important for me. And then when I get the same answer, I go, okay, cool, I'm ready to submit that.
Yeah, I think by default, as an expert, you want to assume you've got enough time to double check, but just be ready for the diffuser to say, you know what, guys, stop double checking. You don't have time.
I'm still of the firm belief. It's not something we've never actually checked, but I'm still of the firm belief that if the experts double check everything that they're slightly unsteady on, you will have plenty of time because you won't strike. And if you were to double solve everything and not get a strike,
yeah,
I still think you'd have enough time to solve this bomb.
Yeah, I think you probably would, especially obviously you've got a couple people in your team. If it's EFMable, like Elias did, then that definitely means that 2 experts would have time to double check everything.
It does kind of make sense, mathematically kind of makes sense that way.
Rex, what did you want to add? Is Rex still with us?
I'm sorry, I'm with you, but I have myself muted. In general, Sky will ask me if I'm ready to be loaded up. Maybe yes, maybe no. I'm working on paper. I may not have room. I may have my mental space all filled. I'll say no. I don't mind. He can load me up in a minute. That's something you always should do. If you want to skip this module, you gotta strike. Say new module. Give me a new module, please.
Yeah, it's okay to not take a module if you don't want it.
Yeah, if you don't want it.
But yeah, like when you're diffusing, if your experts are happy with it, and this is a thing that experts should be happy with, hopefully for Centurion, load them up with work. It's fine. Give them 3 or 4 things to solve, and then they don't have to bother you for a while. But like Rex says, if you have too much on your plate, if you don't want to take another read, just say no. So you'll hear in our runs quite a lot, I'll say, Rex, can I read you X? And usually it's a yes, but occasionally it's a, actually no, I want to finish what I'm doing. Also, in downtime, as well as giving people reads, another thing that I like to do is, instead of saying, silly, do this with me, or Rex, do this with me, I might just say, would anyone like to take an interactive? I'm hoping for a yes, because interactives you want to get out of the way fairly quickly. But it's just a nice idea to put it out to your whole team. Is anyone in a position where they're okay to step away from their current work to do interactives? Because people might be at a point where they're halfway through solving a long solve module and they don't want to put it down. But if someone's at a natural break in whatever they're doing, then they might say, yeah, you know what, give me 10 seconds and I'll come and do an interactive with you. So just putting out the question, does anyone want to do an interactive, I think is a really nice way of working out who's going to be doing what for the next minute or two.
Now, if that's enough on diffusing, here's some tips on experting.
Sure, I can give some. Highlighting souvenir info. If you were watching at all any of my or Rex's experting streams, you can circle, you can highlight, you can copy and paste, you can do whatever you need to for the souvenir info for each of your given modules. Souvenir will only ask you for about each module once. So once you've answered, for example, your Simon Screams information on souvenir, once you've heard that your diffuser has handled that or has asked you a question about it, you can then remove it from your notes or scratch it out. At that point, you can kind of get rid of it. I was always taking at the end, especially for Centurion, took my notes, and anything that I was done solving that I needed to keep the notes for or just wanted to keep the notes for, I would just move it to the end of my document while I can work at the top with the edge work written at the top. So just to keep all the stuff I need to look at the top, which is important.
Yeah.
The main thing for an expert to do, the best thing you can do for your diffuser and for your fellow experts is to keep calm. It is a marathon. It is not a sprint. For short bombs, for time mode bombs, even sometimes you have to rush. You do not have to rush this. You have to work quickly. You have to be accurate, but that all of it requires you to keep calm. If you're panicked, which I definitely have not been able to do all the time. There have been times where I have panicked. You can see it and hear it in my voice.
A strike will definitely rattle a lot of people in a bomb like this.
Oh, it does. It absolutely does. But if you find yourself without getting a strike, you find yourself that you're getting a little panicked, just relax, pace yourself. It's still just a game. It's a tough task you're trying to do. It's a big mountain you're trying to climb, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not that important, and you can get yourself through it. I said it once, I'll say it twice. Double check your work. It's definitely, especially early on in a bomb, it is way less costly than getting a strike. Not only because of the timer increase, but it will rattle you. Sky always does such a freaking amazing job of saving text field for me. Because text field is pretty damn easy, and he knows when I strike, I'm gonna need it. And it's just one of those things that helps to get me back in the saddle, is an easy module to just get yourself righted and to calm yourself down. So speaking of double checking, you definitely want to double check reads that have gone long, or if you weren't sure, if my adjacent letters comes in and I wasn't sure I heard that first letter right, I will definitely double check that. There's no point in solving with incorrect data. So please go and make sure you have the exact information you need. If you need reread on edge work, if you need reread on a module information, get it before you continue. Rex, what do you have to add?
Not sure. Where are we? Is it?
Yep, that's one.
Okay. Yeah. The Sky would sometimes tell me, no more time to double check, go. And there was a time when I didn't listen, and I just did forget me not double checking, and well, good idea or bad idea? Really was a bad idea that time. Sometimes I just can't help myself. Sky suggested something that's really good. If you got a really hard module, say it's more schematics, get the other expert to shadow it. No harm. That's maybe a better thing than submitting the wrong answer. And like I said, you don't want to take a module, say no. In the Praetorian run, I wasn't happy doing Game of Life when it came up. I said, no, Puppy's got a cooler head than I do right now. And Puppy, the hilarious thing is Puppy's like shaking his head and saying, no, no, no. But it was the right call then, and I stand by that.
Yeah. It's a tactic we didn't really use in the Centurion to have, or the Praetorian, to have people double check the module, but I can see it being really useful, especially for something like more schematics. Just get all your experts to try it and make sure they get the same answer. Because again, the time you invest in that is less than the time you'll lose for a strike. So yeah, interactives, as I mentioned, they're priority. If you're an expert and your diffuser asks you to do interactives, if you're in a position where you're at all comfortable with that, make sure you say yes. Because you want to get the interactives out as early as possible, so you don't end up in the position that I think Silly mentioned of having to bounce between two interactives at the end of the bomb because you left them all till last.
At the same time, you don't want to do them all at the very, very beginning, and then you have your diffuser literally drumming his fingers on the desk waiting for answers to come in from the experts because there's no interactives. So
it's true, although if you're doing your time management well, like if you're doing interactives while the other person's doing long solves, there's nothing particularly wrong with that because you've not wasted any time.
This is true.
It's just that you might not have quite as much to do towards the end. But then you can start looking for things that like you can help with that you wouldn't have thought of otherwise. Like, for example, one thing you can do, like if you really have nothing else to do, just go through every single module against humanity card and see if you have those cards on the bomb. And then when your expert tells you which one to go to, you'll already be aware whether it's there or not. Like, I suppose that's actually less relevant to the Centurion because you know what modules are on it already. But for just large bombs generally, that's something you can do. So if you do feel like you've run out of work as a diffuser, oftentimes you haven't. Do just double check the things that still need doing and see if you can help out.
There's certain modules that can be made or sort of thinking and then report, but some can be short circuited by making them interactive. Word search is a good example of that. A lot of times I'll shout out the first word I see on the table, and if the diffuser finds that, I don't need to look for the second, third, and fourth. Um, Likewise, for extended password, he may ask me, I may find that this word fits. I'll ask him, can this word work? And if it can, that's great. Identity parade isn't on this bomb,
Neither's
but
extended password, actually. I totally forgot about that.
um,
Friendship, though.
Friendship. I've got special knowledge for friendship. I've been doing that one forever, and I've taught people too many times. But if you can short circuit that by calling out the first word you find, that's a good thing. You don't have to look for more. Just kind of if you can short circuit a module and not have to do the whole thing, all the possibilities,
Yeah.
that's a really good thing.
So yeah, like as an expert, if you get one of these modules that can be done interactively or can be done where you just walk away and work out the whole thing, check with your diffuser which method you're using. I guess one of my biggest things that got us through the Centurion and Praetorian, I think one of my biggest boons is soloing stuff, as I'm sure a few people are aware now. Obviously, soloing your downtime. Don't keep experts idle because you're soloing something. If you get asked to come away to help an expert with something, try and always be in a position where you can do that. Don't start soloing something that you then need to concentrate on for 2 minutes if you know people don't have 2 minutes worth of work to be getting on with. And also, don't be afraid to ask for help on something that you would usually solo, but that you're not sure about this time around. Like, I asked for a read on a memory rule in the Praetorian because I knew it, but 150 solves in, I didn't want to take the gamble.
LED encryption is another one that you and I can both do in our heads, but sometimes you get those high multipliers with big letters, and you're just like, I just need to calculate it out.
It's worth
for
checking
me.
just for like one stage, yeah.
Absolutely.
One interesting thing about the LED encryption as well is just because you've got an expert to do a stage for you doesn't mean they have to do the whole thing. If you've got your LEDs are red, red, orange, red, feel free to do the first 2 reds, give the orange stage to an expert, and then do the last red yourself as well. Like, they don't depend on each other, the stages.
We got a note here, Sky. Remember souvenir. I'm not quite sure what that means right here.
If you're soloing a module, yeah, do you want to take it?
Sure thing. If Sky's soloing a module and it's a creation and he's making life, oh gosh, he better interrupt and tell me to take down the weather patterns for each day. There's all kinds of stuff
Broken
that
buttons as
souvenir
well as a good
may ask.
example.
Oh gosh, yeah. I can solo broken buttons, but heaven help us if I forget that there's a souvenir on the bomb.
And turn the keys as well. If you're soloing stuff, remember what's banned for turn the keys. Don't go ahead and do the combo lock. Or if you happen to know the cryptography, don't go ahead and do that until keys are done. So just bear in mind if you're soloing something, is it affected by turn the keys? Is it affected by souvenir?
Drake mentions Yahtzee and Double O too. Those are modules I can solo a lot of the time, but better keep track of what souvenir is going to ask.
Remember your Yahtzee roll. Remember your 00 submit button. Just bear in mind what your souvenir are.
For experts, your first priority is to sort of offload any worry from your diffuser. So trust your diffuser. Write first, ask your questions later. Whether you've missed your edge work or you've missed part of a read, just let them get what they need to do done, and ask for a correction in a bit. The whole game is about trust and giving each other room to work and trusting everybody else to work on their things and you doing your things, and just counting on everybody to do the right thing to get the major task done. So Yeah, let your diffuser do what he has to do. Yeah, right. Even if you don't even know what module that you're writing down information for, you'll get that afterwards. Let them finish with let them get the information they need to out, and then you can always ask them, hey, was that Simon States or Simon Sends or Simon not, or not Sends, but
Which is definitely something I've done before on Praetorians and Centurions. Sometimes your diffuser just straight up calls the wrong module to you, and then the information afterwards makes no sense. But
I always
write
get
it down
color
first.
morse and color math confused.
That really
Like,
easy to confuse, yeah.
Yeah. So
So yeah, just write it down, and then afterwards you can say, "Hey, did you mean to say the module you said?"
yep.
But a big thing that I see lots of kind of early first-time players or like novice players doing is holding up a whole bomb to get confirmation for something. So if you missed some edge work, or the diffuser like cut out for you or something, don't just stop after they've given their indicators and say, wait, I missed the indicators, do it again. Because everyone else might have heard it. So wait until the edge work's over, wait until the diffuser has given your expert something to work on, and then you can ask for the reconfirmation on the edge work that you missed. Don't hold up everyone else because you missed some edge work. You can do that one-to-one with the diffuser when you get a moment.
Yeah.
Like Silly said earlier, chances are you're going to strike on this bomb, and like I said, assume you're going to. So what happens if you do strike? The first question is, are you past the point of no return? We talked about what ours were earlier for the Centurion. At a push, it was around 50. We thought if we strike at 50, we could possibly still do it. That's kind of the point where it's still a potential win. So are you past the point of no return? If you are, then keep going. If you're not, then dump the bomb. Unless you all collectively decide you want to just go for it anyway.
Right.
Just to see how far you get. If it's an expert error as opposed to a diffuser error, if one of your experts messes up a module, ask them, do you want to dump this? Do you want to trade it to one of the other experts? If you're the expert, don't be offended by that question. They're not saying you can't do this. They're just asking you what you would like to do. And if you do get asked the question, don't feel obliged to keep hold of it. If you do want to pass it up to another expert, go for it. We've done a lot of module switching and changing on our bombs before. We've done it with neutralization, with microcontroller, with Game of Lives. There's more as well that I'm forgetting. So if you don't want the module anymore, give it up. That's fine.
Yeah, that was me with Blind Alley that one time.
Oh, Blind Alley, yeah.
Oh my god, my microcontroller that I gave up, I was so glad I gave it up quickly.
Yeah. It's a real time sink to sit on a module that you don't know what the error is. So feel free to just give it up. But if you do want to carry on, if you think you know your error, by all means, keep hold of it. And if you want to just take a break from the module you struck on and come back to it later, that's fine too. Like, keep hold of it, but just do something else first. Silly said before, like, we really recommend if an expert strikes, decompress. Stop doing whatever difficult module you're doing and take some easy ones to just lift the weight, reset your brain. This is what you save your text fields and your lettered keys and stuff for. Keep those really easy modules just to drag an expert back onto the rails if they feel like they're shaken by a strike. And also be aware of which modules are strike dependent and try and get those out of the way early. Did we say this earlier? Get Fizzbuzz done early, get Simon Says done early. So just be aware of what's affected by the strikes.
Yep. When you do strike, one thing I want to bring up: don't just assume like, oh, I think I know exactly where it is, and just immediately try to fix it. A lot of the times you do know where that one little mistake you made. Oh shoot, I forgot about the RJ port. Regardless, I would seriously recommend starting over from the beginning. Like, take your old solve, throw it out, and just start fresh. You never know if there were two mistakes along the way. You can save yourself a lot of time in the long run doing that.
I'm not always convinced this is the right thing to do, but both Sky and Puppy do. I think often when you find the one mistake, you can go for it. Don't know. One thing I think we may have mentioned, I don't know if we did, consider doing this bomb in Zen mode first, or Zen mode at some time. You'll get used to it without the stress of worrying about strikes, and you'll get an idea of what your benchmark is. How close are you to getting it done? It's a good thing to do. Um, take time to study the edge cases for your modules. Know the shortcuts. Know that for microcontroller ending in a 1 and a 4, that's the first line. Know that for Mystic Square, if the center's empty, the skull's under the 7. Know a bunch of things that are straightforward and will get you through things without jumping through all the hoops that experting does.
Especially, it's not just that it saves time when you do notice them, it's that sometimes you'll strike if you don't notice them, so make sure that you do know those rare case rules. Like, Rex almost missed the unlit car rule on the Forget-Me-Not for the Praetorian, although he did catch it.
Ooh.
So just be aware of those rules that don't often come up, but that sneak into the module pages. Finding unsolved modules is really tricky sometimes. The technique that I use, that you can probably see in all of our successful defusals, is to try and find the modules that still need doing. I tilt the bomb to the side, and I look down the rows of solve lights. So look here, you can see this row. And this becomes very easy to spot the ones that are not green, which at the moment is pretty much all of them. So you can more quickly find the modules that you still need to get solved. That's the way I do it. Just look down, rotate the bomb slowly, and look from the side. That's a big helpful tip. We personally recommend solving Souvenir as it pings you, so that you're not just left with a massive heap of questions towards the end of the bomb, sorry. It also lets your experts clear out information to keep their notes as concise as possible. Although when you do answer your Souvenir questions, make sure that you're not interrupting the expert while they're doing something important. Try and give them the question that relates to them in between, like, the modules they're solving. Also, if you've soloed a Souvenir question, if you happen to remember what your 00 submit button was and you answer the question without asking anyone, at least let someone know that you've done it so they can get rid of the note.
In general, this is a game. Try to find a team that you can just joke with, relax. Where humor takes attention away. In the beginning, we said, don't worry about manners. Just, be as rude as you need to be. Turns out we were totally polite to each other. It's fun. The game's fun. That's the reason we're all here.
Yep.
So needies are something that we've not particularly talked about. In terms of answering the needies, I don't have a technique. It just comes with practice. You get used to having to go and answer that every minute or so. Same with reading Forget-Me-Not stages, really. But one thing to consider is what is an acceptable needy. If you get a capacitor on a bomb, dump it. The timer is strict already, and the capacitor takes up so much time on a bomb. What do you reckon it kills? Like a third of the timer, maybe? A quarter at least?
Yeah, it's a hard one.
Yeah, it's disgusting. Capacitor is such a nasty needy. So if you see a capacitor on a bomb, don't even attempt it, is our advice. But it does bring up the question, what is an acceptable needy? Needy knob was Elias's recommendation for as far as vanillas go, because it can be soloed as an diffuser, and it also allows you to answer the stage really early on, and then not even have to worry about it, because obviously it auto solves at the end of the timer. So Rex, how do you go about solving a needy knob as a diffuser?
Some people do it by calling out each of the lights in the top row, and that's a way to do it. I think Hummus does it that way. What we usually do, what I think is much better, is to count the number of lights on the left side, count the number of lights on the right side, and call those out. Those are always unique, and they're easy to remember. For some reason, 4 is always up. If it makes a U shape, you are right. That's just a phrase I remember. Nothing is left. That's another phrase I remember. 0 or 1 on the left side. On the left side means it's a left button, and generally anything else is down. That's how I remember it. It's an easy one for the diffuser to solo. What else?
It's kind of amazing to me that the top row technique for needy knob is sustained as long as it has, because this module has existed for the entire length of the game. That's like 3 years now, and people still
Yeah.
use the top row technique, which is amazing because it's not always unique. Sometimes, if you read the top row, your expert has to ask for the second row, which is ridiculous because it takes longer to read, and it's not always unique. If you just count the left and the right, done. It's such a better way of doing the needy knob. But yeah, as a diffuser, if you are going to take a bomb with a needy knob, do learn the patterns. Don't have to ask your experts because that's going to take up way too much time. Another thing that I think is kind of interesting is in vanilla modules, as far as I can tell, the translated vent gas is better than the English vent gas. I think, and someone can check and confirm for me on this, but I think it gives you 1 extra second to get a solve in. When I was playing with German vent gas, I could fairly reliably submit the vanilla after it starts ringing in the last like 3-4 second countdown of the needy. Whereas the standard vanilla English vent gas, I was almost certainly missing if I went and tried to solve it after it started ringing at me. So I think that's one thing, is that the translated vent gas is actually slightly better than the English vent gas. And also think about, is a modded needies okay? Clearly Fill the Beer is the best possible needy you could have on a Centurion, and it's the way that we did it for the first time around. The second solve we did have a needy knob on, but the first time around beer was the best. We did it for the Praetorian as well. But Elias pointed out after we did the solve that it's kind of not canon, because the Centurion is the first 100 modules of the 97, 98 modules of the Steam workshop that were submitted, which means at the time that the mission was created, needy beer didn't exist. So really, the vanilla needies are sort of the only acceptable needies if you're going by the timeline, by the true kind of nature of the. If you're going by the real spirit of the challenge, you should be taking a vanilla.
Or any needies that were Yahtzee or earlier.
Yes.
Perhaps.
Although I don't know if there's many, certainly ones that would be acceptable. Like I think Rotary phone is early enough, but Christ, don't take a Rotary phone on this challenge. So yeah, like I think really, there's a couple things to talk about with your team whether you find them acceptable, and that's one of them. Is Fill the Beer an acceptable needy, or is that against the spirit of the challenge as far as your team is concerned?
In general, I say don't worry about having an easy needy on a bomb. If you complete a Centurion, whatever, it is a Centurion you've completed. That's a good thing. Don't worry about getting to refill the beer and everyone says, oh, you just did the Centurion with a refill the beer. Yeah, I did a Centurion. Yeah, that's a good thing. Don't you worry about that.
The fact that Sky can even do a Centurion with beer is still freaking amazing.
Wasn't just me.
And we got a lot of comments about the fill the beer too on the video. People seem to like that this bomb had a beer tap on it.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but a beer tap's cool.
Speaking of things that may or may not be standard in canon, now we have the heads-up display that you have up there, Sky, that has the solve count and so on. I don't know if that's considered acceptable by today's standards to solve a Centurion. Again, you're solving a Centurion. I think you can allow yourself that little tool. I mean, the Forget-Me-Not keeps track of solves for you anyway, so just you have to remember to subtract 1 off of the FMN stage count. But at the same time, it's still pretty. It's still one of those things that you can that people might say, hey, you shouldn't have the access to the heads-up display.
Yeah.
Personally, I think not.
Yeah, I agree with that, Rex.
One of the things that's a challenge on a bomb this size is being able to watch the clock when you're doing Crazy Talk, say.
That's very true.
Or something like that, adventure game. Excuse me, not adventure game, astrology. And having to look at the clock instead of the HUD makes it a little more challenging. I think that's a challenge that you're supposed to have.
Speaking of using FMN for For solve counts, Rex, why don't you give us a little background on Forget Me Not?
Oh God. Um, Forget Me Not. I've done this a million times. I love it. It's my favorite module in the whole library. Yes. Um, in general, I like to get on a bomb this size. I usually on a smaller bomb calculate the first two stages and then calculate them on the fly. For a bomb this size, I don't want to do that. I want to get about 50 stages in. Maybe even for the Praetorian, I got 100 stages in. And then I started calculating the Forget Me Not. I don't know. I seem to go away for about 10 minutes on the Praetorian without doing anything other than Forget Me Not. But I think that was more efficient in the long run. Um, for Forget Me Not, you can look at the manual for the first two rules, but you're really better off knowing the stage 3 rules and memorizing them because you don't want to keep referring back to the Forget Me Not manual. The stage 3 rules are really simple. There's only three things to remember: zero, both even, and then whatever the otherwise one. If you can do that, you're good to go, and you don't need to refer to the manual page, and you can keep going quick. The one first rule that I always screw up is the unlit car one. Oh my gosh, that's tripped me up so many times. And we had that on the Praetorian. I keep repeating, oh, don't forget the unlit car. Um, unlit car means the added numbers too. For me on Forget Me Not, I keep my information in three rows. One's the reported number, one's the number you add, and one's the calculated number that I have to give back at the end of the bomb. That's how I do it. And on my paper, I leave an extra line for blank just to correct things if things go awry. Um, that's me. I do my notes on paper. Um, the turn the keys is an interesting one. We had this on turn the key rather. We had this on our
The
Praetorian
Praetorian,
run.
yeah.
It doesn't give you a new solve number. It doesn't give you a new forget me not value.
In fact,
When
I
Puppy was
can show you on this bomb actually because we have turned the key, and you'll all notice that the Forget Me Not is still on stage 1 here.
oh yeah. Um when Puppy was doing Cruel Mastermind, it wanted to know about odd even number of modules, and that included that turn the key. But we were using the
Cruel Game of Life, not Cruel Mastermind.
Cruel Game of Life. Thank you. We were using the Forget Me Not count to calculate how many modules we were in, and that's the
Yep.
reason why Puppy earned. He didn't earn. He got those strikes on Cruel Game of Life. Um, that's an interesting thing to remember. It really confused
Yeah,
us until somebody pointed that
none of
out in
us
chat.
three had ever considered that state of affairs where the Forget Me Not flips the odd even state. It's really interesting. It's a really interesting thing to happen on a bomb, and no one had ever realized that could happen.
Um, Lee George asked you if you scrap a bomb if you miss a Forget Me Not stage over 50.
Um,
My sense is
no,
yes.
no, I don't think you do,
Um,
because like if with a lot of time at the end of the bomb, the Forget Me Not is actually one of the safer places to get a strike, really, because you're in the last couple minutes. If you're doing well, if you get a clean bomb and you've missed even stage 1 of Forget Me Not, you've got tons of time to recalculate. Missing
I
Forget Me Not
guess.
stages is not the worst thing in the world,
But
as
you
long as you're
better
doing it
be good.
cleanly,
But you better be good at calculating them on the fly.
which Rex
You
is, of
really have to
course.
keep referring. Yeah, I love that module. Um, um, for me, I'll double check my forget me not values, my calculations, because if you get a wrong answer, it has a cascading effect. Usually, calculate about 25 values, which I fit on a single line. I always separate them in groups of five. I put a little apostrophe between my groups. And 25 fit on a single line, and the next 25, the next 25. When I'm calculating it, I'll double check the row, all 25 of them, and then move on to the next row. Double checking forget me not is a really good thing, and I have a hard time even when Sky says don't double check your answers, not double checking the forget me not. Some people separate the forget me nots into groups of three. I don't like doing this because I want to count them. When Sky says, do you have 27 forget me not values? And I see I'm two past a multiple of five. I know I'm there. But if you break that up into groups of three, 27, oh gosh, that's an even multiple of three. So we're cool.
Yeah, if I tried to double
Um,
check with you if you've got 83 stages of Forget Me Not, you won't have a clue.
Yeah, exactly. I like breaking them up into groups of 5. You definitely have to break them up. Having them all as one long string, that's just hard to deal with. Um, Forget me not. You've got to have a handshake with the diffuser. He's
Hmm.
got to call out a value. It's best if he calls out your name. Rex, forget me not stage 85 is a 3. Now I've got to say, got it. If I don't say got it, or Sky doesn't, calls out my name, we got a missed handshake, and he's got to say, did you get forget me not stage 85? I got to say, oh,
Yeah.
what was that?
I don't
Um,
always ask that question immediately either. Like if I'm about to read silly something, and I've given you the stage and I don't hear the response, I just kind of store that and I finish reading what I'm reading with silly. But before I submit anything else, I will come back and say, Rex, did you get that stage?
that's key to not missing a stage.
Yeah.
Although that's another thing. I'll steal your point, puppy.
No,
Um,
take it.
every Everybody has a responsibility to help out with the forget me not. It should People think it's all on the diffuser. If he misses the stage, then it's his mistake. I guess it's his mistake mostly, but everybody when they turn in a module say, what's the forget me not value? You just got to everybody. We're on a team. Everyone's got to be sure that doesn't get skipped.
Conman points out as well that this is kind of what I was getting at before, where a forget me not value missed is not the worst thing in the world. If you do miss an early forget me not value, just carry on solving anyway, make up a number, and carry on. Because at some point, your answer that you have to calculate on the fly at the end will reconverge with your calculated answer, and then you can just get back on track and carry on solving. Did that happen in our second Centurion solve? It didn't, did it? That
Yeah.
happened in one of the failed ones. In one of the very
Yes.
dramatic, almost succeeded attempts. Rex, I think the one and only Forget Me Not strike you've ever got in a Centurion or Praetorian attempt. Somewhere like 30 stages in, you struck, and then you had to calculate on the fly, which you did ridiculously quickly, by the way. And then somewhere around stage 42, it kind of reconverged with your answer, and you could just start reading again. Which is why a missed Forget Me Not stage is actually one of the less damaging mistakes that I think you can get in this challenge.
Interesting point. Um, Scott.
So while you're doing the Forget Me Not, and this is definitely something I'm sure you guys saw us do, but if you can take the Forget Me Not reads faster, by all means tell your expert. This kind of works for all modules actually. I've had Silly tell me before, read adjacent letters quicker than you're doing it. Read cheap checkout faster than you're doing it. If you need to change the speed of the read you're getting from an expert or a diffuser, just tell them. It's a really fast thing to say. You're not slowing everyone down by just saying quicker or slower.
Go.
So if you're putting in Forget Me Not and you think you can submit it quicker than what's being done, just say speed up.
Yep.
And it will be, and that works out okay. We've had occasions where we've had to do it in order to get the solve in, and we've had occasions where we didn't. But if we had gone for it, we might have got you could get maybe you'll get the record time on Centurion because you asked for the speed up on Forget Me Not. If you want to do that, as long as you've got the strikes to give, of course. I've just noticed clock is ticking backwards because we're in Zen mode. I didn't realize it did that.
Yeah.
It's really interesting.
If
It
Sky
always
had
does that in
warned
Zen
me,
mode.
yeah, if Sky hadn't told me on the Praetorian attempt or a successful one to read it out as fast as I could, we never would have gotten that one done.
Yeah, we wouldn't.
Sky was amazing at keeping up with me, being 3 or 4 digits behind and still remembering them and keeping up. Sky's a really good diffuser.
Yes, he is.
By clock, by the way, I meant the clock module. I didn't know the second hand ticked backwards.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I've never seen that before.
For-
Yep, Silly, yours is next.
Yeah, the next thing for definitely whatever you do, record everything starting from day one. We always joked, Sky would always start his recordings where, okay, this is our first attempt ever to solve the Centurion. And even if it was the 100th attempt, just for fun. But always keep your recording going and grab your log when you're done.
By recordings, we mean like video screen grab, not like module information.
Get your OBS set up so you can record your screen easily, because you are going to want to be able to review what you've done.
You're going to want to post a successful run,
and you're definitely going to want to
Don't want to lose
successful.
Who knows?
Yes,
like maybe you'll get the success on day one because fuck, we did it with Praetorian.
Praetorian was a day one solve. I mean, we could have easily said, "Don't bother recording. We're not going to make it."
Yeah,
but we did.
I said to Elias, because Elias was going to do some like little secrets and Easter eggs in the mission. He's going to make a mission for us, and I said to him, "Don't worry, we're going to do something on the stream today, but we won't solve it. So don't worry, we're not going to ruin it." Sorry, Elias. So yeah, always record, because who knows when you'll solve it. One thing Rex points out a lot is that I seem to be able to find things on the bomb really quickly. I think some of that actually is more down to the fact that I don't decide, for the most part, I don't decide what I want to solve and then go looking for it. I will solve the things as I find them. So the first thing that catches my eye right now on the side of the bomb is a bitwise, which is one of the early things that I tend to give to Silly. So that would be the first thing I read. Silly, get not on bitwise. And my gamepad is 31, 33. They're just the things that I'm spotting. Occasionally you do.
Well, what about
Yeah, so occasionally
what about orientation cube? I need orientation cube now so I can do turn the keys. Find it for me, Scott.
I do have it, but I have been staring at this bomb for an hour and a half. But like, there have been occasions where you've said to me, Sky, I need to do orientation, and I've still not read it to you for another 5 minutes. There's been, I'm sure Silly can attest, we generally try to begin with 2 bits, but there were plenty of occasions where I said, let's just do the round keypad because I'm looking at it. And then I can also take the time while we're solving something like round keypad, or even just while I'm reading it, I'll just be scanning the rest of the bomb to try and find those missing modules that I do need to do. And then once you've got the vital modules out of the way, once you've done your keys, for instance, then you can just start solving by doing the things that you're seeing, as opposed to thinking, right, I want to do number pad next, where's number pad? I see my adjacent letters, let's do adjacent letters. Obviously we've talked about certain modules that want to be done at certain times, but aside from those, you've still got another 80 or so modules that you can really do anytime you want. So just do them as you see them. When you're submitting modules, one thing that I'm guilty of is on a module that I really don't trust. If I've got my cheap checkout answer ready to go, Silly says put $10.15 in, and I will hover. I catch myself doing this. I'll hover on the submit button for like 3 or 4 seconds before hitting it, just because I don't trust that it's going to be correct, because it's just a module that strikes on a lot, and it feels like, obviously there's so much rounding and stuff that goes on with cheap checkout. It feels so imprecise that it's a module that I just find I strike a lot on. Same with number pad, color math. It's just like there's certain things that people strike a lot on.
It's one of those like the clock, where any number could be the answer,
right?
And so it's hard to
they just feel gross to submit. Safety safe. Ugh. And it's just really easy to hover on a submit button. So my best advice for when you submit a module, especially a difficult module, wait for around a second, because sometimes reading an answer as an expert will trigger a realization that you've done something wrong. It's all too common that you'll hear an expert say, oh, the answer is 6, 2, 3. Oh, wait. And like saying it, kind of, you realize that you've done this and not that. So just wait for a second to see if your expert corrects themselves. If maybe they've even just read what they've written down wrong. But then after that second, don't sit cringing and waiting to hit the submit button because you don't trust the module. Just go for it. Because a strike is a strike either way. So don't sit here for 5 seconds, which I've done so many times, going, oh, I don't want to press keep on the first stage of silly slots. Just hit the answer. There's no reason to wait. And in terms of hitting buttons as well, also don't hit sequences of buttons really fast. I have struck twice so many times on modules because I was hitting a fast sequence. If Rex tells me magentas on coloured squares, I can hit all 4 magenta squares in half a second. But if I do that and I strike on magenta, I'm going to get 2 strikes. off the bat without without blinking an eye. So if you're submitting a quick sequence of an answer in a module, just take a tiny bit of time in between those button presses just to make sure you're not striking, because otherwise you might strike twice.
Yeah. Other things I wanted to bring up for turn the key, singular. Please be aware of strike time. You can set a timer, like I did at times on my phone. I set if Sky would tell me, set a timer for 20 minutes left. I would set an 80-minute timer on my phone. But just as an expert, remind your diffuser at about 30 minutes left to start keeping an eye on the key. Turn the key can only be in the last 20 minutes on this bomb, so just make sure that they're aware when it is, and at the time around the key, you kind of have to leave the diffuser to make sure he gets it, just so you can focus and get it at the exact right time. Because again, you got a one shot at that. Other questions you want to ask your team, whether or not you want to use cheat sheets. We did not use any, but if you want to shortcut some things with cheat sheets, it definitely will save you a little bit of time. But again, for me, I'm kind of a purist when it comes to this kind of stuff, and I would like to see it.
Yeah, I think we all are, aren't we?
Yeah.
This kind of links.
That's why I wondered.
Sorry, this kind of links back to what we were asking about. Like, are you okay using the HUD? Are you okay using Filthier? Just questions to finalize with the team about what you find acceptable.
The other thing is, you want to be on the same. You want to make sure you have the date right for your cheap checkout. Can your diffuser make notes? These are all things you want to kind of.
As in, like, actually physically writing things down. Some people would say yes, and some would say no.
Some people say the diffuser can have a sheet of paper and a pen in front of them. We didn't go that way.
Yeah, no.
Again, I like being a purist. So.
Also, are you willing to change your system clock to get the day that you want for cheap checkout?
I hadn't thought of that, but
it's something you could do. I think Elliot said he actually may have done that on his. Again, are you willing to take that step? Do you consider it cheating or not?
Yeah, I kind of do. When we saved web design again, I was very inconsistent with web design at the end until we started doing Praetorian, and I practiced it. Really, just focused on practicing it. But definitely consider at the end just hitting each of the 3 buttons as needed.
Was consider a pun?
Order. No, that's very funny. Definitely try to put do them in probability order. So I think that's like accept, reject, consider in that order. If you're not going to actually try to solve it, the one that you have there up on the screen right now, I think it's got like 6 lines, and that just takes time to do.
Yeah,
and
this is quite a nasty web design. So if worst comes to worst, what happened to our first Centurion? Because I gave you a web design to legitimately try because we had the time for it, and then we struck.
And then I screwed it up.
Then
I just said just YOLO it. I just said just YOLO it,
and we got it first time around. There you go. So, like, web design is a very long module that you can entirely bypass, because the strike is not that bad in the last 2 minutes of the bomb. Like, you're not losing all that much time to it, really.
Yeah.
If it's the last thing you do.
Rex, where you been, my man?
I'm here.
All right.
Yeah, I'm muted again. I was just getting a drink and I wanted to be quiet. I don't even know how Sky does it. Getting the needy and finding the needy in time and doing it. Sometimes watching those videos, it scares me. I know he's got it done, and it still scares me. Elias doing experting for himself, EFM doing the. I have absolutely no idea how he can do a long module like safety save and also watching for that needy. He said he'd do the needy first, or especially needy knob, and then he'd go to safety save and start calculating. By the time he was done, the needy would be up again. I don't even know how you do that, but somehow you got to strategize doing the needy and hard work, especially when you're EFMing. I really don't know. I have no tips, but good luck.
Depending on, I think we talked about like what makes a good diffuser earlier. Yeah. One question that Rex has asked me a couple of times is how I find things on this fucking bomb. I don't really know. I think just good eyesight. It's something I unfortunately can't really help with, but it might be a reason to pick your diffuser, is just being able to find certain things on the bomb. Just taking downtime to look out for stuff. Like if I'm reading a module and there's gaps between the reads, I'll just be looking around at the rest of the things to see if I can pick up on those modules that I need to find. Unfortunately, I don't really have any special techniques for that.
Yeah, but you have so many other things. There are so many things that go into being a good diffuser. I mean, being able to remember where the modules are. Where they are, where each one is on the bomb. Remembering to go back to the needy every so often. It's just crazy stuff.
I know. I tried to do this guy's been doing it. I want to turn behind the bomb. I looked at this thing and I ran screaming. I did like 3 attempts, 4 attempts. I said, I don't want to do this anymore. I couldn't remember where, I give out silly skewed slots or this module and someone would come up with an answer for skewed slots on it. Where is that thing? Where is that thing? You really want to pick the diffuser who can handle a bomb like this, because not everybody can.
Alright, I think that covers all the general Centurion stuff. We wanted to very quickly just run through specific module information. But like things like about the Centurion mission overall, I think we've pretty much covered now.
Yes, I think so.
But yeah, let's just run through. I will try and show these on the real bomb what I've got here while we're talking about it. We're going to start off with 3D Maze, and we'll try and go through this just really quickly.
There's again, the diffuser can solo or prep the coordinates. He obviously needs to figure out which are the maze markings. Go back. That north.
Yeah.
Take a look at that north. I know I'm behind. This north is in the middle of a line. All the real cardinals are in corners or dead ends. This north is definitely a fake. If you find another cardinal, then you found the real cardinal, and you can announce that too.
Yeah, I did find a south earlier, so I know the cardinal for this maze is a south.
Right. If you find a cardinal in a corner, doesn't mean it's the real one. It could be a fakie. But if you find a cardinal in whatchamacallit, in a corridor or against a flat wall or something, it is definitely a fake.
So this north is in a corner. So seeing one in a corner doesn't tell you if it's fake or true, but finding one that's not in a corner tells you it is fake.
In general, this is something everyone does probably, but we like theirs is south in a corner right there. We like to get a line that has 2 letters in it, because those are a lot easier to find on the maze. Diffuser, when he's preparing for the module, should try to find a line right there. Sky's got one with a C and an H. That's what you want as an expert. That's adventure game, or excuse me, 3D maze.
Yep. Adventure game. One of the things you want to do is the diffuser is going to check for a potion first, because you always use a potion, and that also changes the stats. But the diffuser must communicate to the expert that the potion was used, because Souvenir is going to ask about the first, second, third item you used. So that has to be counted in there. So that's something you want to keep an eye on for an adventure game.
This is where I show you that I actually can't find a fucking thing on this bomb, because I couldn't find an adventure game anywhere.
It's at the top. It's at the top of that.
Yeah, I got you.
There it is.
Astrology, as I mentioned earlier, you can solo the serial lookup. Just bear in mind that's something that you can help out with.
Battleships. The safe spots, at least the ones in the serial number, are relatively easy to compute. Show us the serial number, Scott.
It's going to be... The first letter is hotel. The first number is 0.
Okay, Hotel 0. Hotel is the 8th letter of the alphabet. I know that. Actually, for alphabet, somebody once told me J is 10, T is 20, M is 13. I use those as anchors for figuring out things. H is 8. I remember that for a silly reason. I know Nazis sometimes 8 on their tattoos. That's Heil Hitler. Oh God, I guess I know this stuff. H is 8.
Yep.
So 8 is mod, 5 is 3, and you said the first digit was what?
0.
0. So that would be a 5.
Doesn't help.
So
on this one,
3, 5. It doesn't help on this one, but you find the serial number safe spots. If that's enough to help you solve Battleship, that's enough. The other safe spot is ports plus indicators plus batteries. I know that one, but it's not one I'm comfortable using because I might get a strike if I screw that one up. But the serial number, first letter, first number, second letter, second number, and maybe third letters, third number if you've got them. That should be enough, or that's often enough to get you past what you need to in Battleship.
Yep. The modules I wanted to look at, bitwise operators. That's easy to prep. That requires nothing other than the operator.
Well,
Same.
the point here is that you don't even necessarily need the operator. Bitwise is one thing that you can go to without even a read if you happen to be idle.
It is. But for example, you have a knot over there, which means
This
you
is
only
the
need to do
one
knot.
unfortunate case, yes.
So actually, it's the really good case where you only have to deal with just the left side. So for bitwise, you can always do at least the left side and get that ready.
Yeah.
Blind alley, for example, blind alley requires nothing. Once you have the edge work, you are set to go on that, so you can get that completely done if you're idle.
Boolean Ven, I wanted to mention, learn to solo this module. There is no reason to ask your expert about this. It's a really easy solo. Also, Caesar Cipher. Either learn to solo this as well. It's another really easy solo module. Or, if you're not soloing it, it's another one that your expert can prep. They don't need to know these letters in order to find the offset. So it's another module that your expert, if they happen to be idle, well, let's go and work out what the Caesar Cipher offset's going to be. And then you can either give that to your diffuser to just do themselves, because it's just addition to letters, or they can read you the letters and then you can very quickly give an answer back.
Chuck Norris's easiest solo English test. It's a dangerous solo. If you're at all curious, if you're all uncertain, the him, whom, and who ones are very confusing.
Yeah.
Ask your experts for help.
Cheap checkout, Silly?
Yes, with cheap checkout, definitely make sure you know your time zones. Make sure what day Sky is about 7 or 8 hours ahead of Rex and I, so please make sure you know what day he's on, what day your diffuser's on. That's the date that the bomb is started, by the way. You may want to consider scheduling your attempts on easier days, but I mean, they all just. Or if you want to get extreme about it, you can change your computer clock. That's up to you, but still not nothing that's too horrible. I wouldn't personally change anything. I would just solve it on the day that I solve it.
Yeah, I agree with that. Coordinates. I like it when the diffuser starts out with the grid size. That's why I write on the top of my notes. And if the diffuser starts out with that, he knows when he's got 8 values. The grid size, there it is, 21. I know bare numbers or number in parentheses is grid size. Those are the unusual ones. But it really helps me to get that. Helps me to get that first. A lot of people don't care. I'm a little picky bastard. That's just me. Crazy talk. Have a communication technique for that one. What we like to do is say quote, period, unquote in this case. I can see Sky's stream a little ahead of you. Quote and end quote are not in any of this crazy talk phrases, so they're safe to use. Now, if you got symbols or numbers in there, some people will say, I've got a symbol, a word, a number, a word, a number, a word, and then read it out, a whole bunch of words. I can't keep track of that personally. I say I've got some symbols and numbers. I'll say numeral before the numbers and symbol before the symbols. I tell them that, and then I read it out. 1 3 numeral 4 numeral 3.
Are the words numeral and symbol safe words for?
No, they're not.
Okay.
But
so
if I told him in
careful.
advance,
Yeah.
if I tell him in advance he's going to get some numerals and symbols and I'll precede them with them, then it's okay. Or I hope it's okay. For me, getting them in line like that while he's reading it out helps me to find things and remember what I'm looking for.
The way
That's
that
just me.
The way that you space the words is helpful as well. Like if I'm reading 1, 3, numeral 2, 4, like as opposed to saying 1, 3, numeral 2, 4, like the stressing
Fair
also
enough.
helps you like determine what it is you're listening to. But feel free to, outside of your quote end quote read, to just clarify things.
Yeah, somebody mentions there's two long NATO crazy talks. One that's got risky or whiskey
Oh
at
yeah.
the end, and one that's got indigo or India at the end.
Yep.
And
Yes.
you just have to. You don't even need to. You just say it. Blah 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 blah. Oh yeah, it's got a whiskey at the end, or you got to get them started,
Yep.
and then finish that off. Um, Likewise, if you say for the love of all things good and holy, you've got that particular one. You don't need to finish it off. If you've got one that's recognizable, you should be good to go.
Yeah.
Creation. There's a module you should be able to. You should at least know the substitutions. If it's a hot day, you got too much fire and you need more water. The rainy day, you've got too much water, you need fire. Instead, you ought to know your substitutions. They're really easy to memorize.
Just
Um,
out of
you also
curiosity,
know,
because of the two substitutions I just got on day 1 and 2, I had to hit water air twice to do energy and swamp.
yeah, that is funny. I do think that's. I had that before. You should know how to make life. Life is swamp, and the opposite swamp is water and earth. The opposite two are fire and air. So that's what makes energy. You've got to use one of each of the four, and then you combine swamp and energy, made life. It's real easy to remember how to make life, and you're going to need life for everything. So the diffuser should know how to make life, and heck, enough practice, and a good diffuser knows how to make pretty much anything. Mushroom is weeds and earth, and weeds is life and water. I know that. It's enough repetition. You've got that.
What's the danger
Maybe
though?
that's a little. There's a little danger there, I suppose, in not knowing it for sure. Sometimes I'll check with my expert and see if I've got that one right. But creation is something you should be able to short circuit, or it's nice if you can. Sounds like Puppy got pulled away.
Possibly.
Nope, I'm still
Oh,
here.
okay. But the
Okay.
big danger for this is, even though you can solo lots of this as the diffuser, remember that you still have to give those weathers out for the souvenir.
Oh yes, forgot about that. Oh
Um,
no, never forget about that.
Cryptography. There's quite a lot you can do as a diffuser here. Crypto is one that you can spend time with if you have nothing else to do. This is quite an interesting crypto I've got here. I could possibly work out some of these words if I felt like spending enough time on it. Because if you do like cryptogram type crosswords, assuming that maybe like SPR is possibly the word end, I could actually start like reverse engineering what some of these words are. So if you had nothing else to do, you could actually kind of help your expert solve a crypto by giving them specific words. Especially since E's are always E's. And echo never changes. Besides that, though, keep an eye out for things like Scrooge and Marley. I think my word here ends with Marley. So I would say to it's either this one or this one, and I would, it can't be this one, there's an E here, but this, I would say to my expert, I would read the words like 6, 3, 13 or whatever that is, 3, and I would say, and I think my sentence ends with Marley, because that could possibly help them out.
I tend to like to know if it's a long or short sentence.
Yeah.
If it's a long sentence, it helps me to eliminate any short ones, and if it's short sentence, I don't look at the long ones. You get the word letter counts, but in this case, I don't need to know that the third word has 12 or 13 or 10 or 16 letters. Just say long word.
Yeah.
That should be good enough.
But yeah, the main thing is look out for Scrooge and Marley. Look out for maybe like repeated words. I might say this 3-letter word is the same both times.
You go.
Sorry, I was just going to say, and also as a diffuser, maybe learn some of the really easy sentences. There's 2 or 3 sentences that are immediately recognizable on crypto. So if it says, "Of course he did," or "Scrooge knew he was dead," or "They never painted out old Marley's name," I think is one. They're just like, you can spot them really fast and maybe work them out without ever having to ask your expert. Just remember not to do it before turning the keys. Yeah, how could it be otherwise? There's a few of them. Just remember to do keys first, because this is another band to turn the keys module.
Chuck Norris mentions the sentence "oh." That'll never show up in crypto, I'm afraid, Chuck. No, it doesn't. There's the one in the first paragraph that mentions Hamlet and it goes on. It's like, 62 words. I've counted it before. That'll never show up either. There's just not enough room.
Yeah.
Oh, me. Double O. I find I've done it enough. Double O can be soloed if you're familiar with what are the last numbers there. 85, Sky.
I've got it.
44. Yeah. If you 85, 44, glitchy, I know that's one in the center. So if he 22,
This is a pair that I'm
go back.
familiar with.
Right. So if you know what's going on in Double O, you can often solo it. It's not that risky. Usually, what I find it, and I'll ask my diffuser, my expert rather, is this the one that goes to Double O?
Yeah.
This one goes to the center, and then if he says yes, I've already short circuited that module. That's one that can be soloed a lot.
But just remember, like creation, you need to know your submit button for the souvenir. As a diffuser, I've actually never had trouble remembering the submit button, just because this information is unlike any other module. It sticks out, so I find it quite easy to remember. I'm not going to forget double left right. But if you don't feel that confident, just tell an expert to write that down.
Let's see. We on me? Yes. Fast math. Fast math can be prepped as soon as you have edge work. But when you have a negative number, what you really want to do is you want to write that negative number plus 50. So if you have a negative 15, also write down next to your negative 15 plus 35.
Yeah, definitely.
That makes it very easy. So when you have a number that's less than 15, you can immediately look to the right and say, let's just add 35 to it instead. It just helps you immeasurably. Fast math, you actually have a little bit more time than you think you do, but still, it's not an eternity. You do have to act fast.
That's enough time to solve a stage of LED encryption or two.
This is true.
Follow the leader. It's helpful as a diffuser to just know the first couple of rules. You can start it off faster. The first rule is the RJ rule, am I right?
Yes.
So you can just have a look on the bottom. Do I have an RJ port? I do. Therefore, I can cut wire 4 to 5. That's always the case. If you've got an RJ, cut 4 to 5. That's always your start point. And I can just tell Rex, I've cut 4 to 5, it's green. And we just move on from there. Can just save a little bit of time if you know the first couple of rules.
If he tells me to prep for a follow leader, I'll get my first letter of the serial number. I'll be looking at that rule number. I'll get ready for that. I don't want to wait to find it then. Find it later. I want to be prepped and ready to go right away reading out rules. What else?
Silly.
Yeah, foreign exchange rates. The diffuser should know whether they need to give you the top or bottom row. If the lights are red, that makes things really easy. I have a bookmark to ISO 4217 codes in Wikipedia just so that I can quickly get that out of the way. It's a nice quick read, especially if the module's red.
For 2 batteries, would it be top row?
Yes.
Two or more batteries top. Batteries top row more.
So there's actually not that many currencies that appear. So as a diffuser, it's another one that if you wanted to learn a couple, by all means do it. US dollars, I actually know because I find it easy to remember that it's freedom dollars. So I hit button 4, which is middle left. There you go.
What was that? What was that phrase you remember?
It's freedom money. It's freedom dollars. It's freedom.
Oh, freedom.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
USA.
Stage 4 is a 5, Rex, by the way.
Thank you. Got it.
At one point, I learned a few other currencies as well. I'm now forgetting them, but I did know Australian dollars and Great Britain money, like GBR, sterling, euros. Is euro 7 or is it 9?
I don't know. I don't know.
Euro 7.
It's 7. So there's a few that you can learn as a diffuser as well, because not a lot of different ones actually come up.
I already mentioned gamepad. Everyone needs to spot the highly composite numbers and mention them. A equals 1 plus D, X is a multiple of 11. All those finalization rules are so easy to miss. And if anybody recognizes them, shout it out.
Yep. LED. Go ahead.
No, I'm done.
LED encryption is kind of a solo. It's kind of a solo module. Again, don't be afraid to ask for help. But if a diffuser generally should be able to do the math in their head for at least the smaller numbers and smaller multipliers.
Yeah, give your expert some help if you can there.
Yeah. Logic. Important things with logic. It's partially solvable in rare cases. Rare cases, for example, if you have A and not A, that's always going to be false. As an expert, always try to find the place where you can short circuit the logic. So, for example, on the one that you see over here on Sky Screen, the Oscar, the O, if that's a false, I'm sorry, yeah, if
Yeah.
not O is a false, that bottom row is true. You don't have to worry about the L and the A. So find the places in certain ones, and inside the brackets on the top row, the W and the Q, if either of them is true, don't bother. If the first one you solve for is true, don't bother looking at the other
I've
the other
never,
module.
I've never really thought
The
about
other
this,
part.
but logic is not a bad one to leave till the end of the bomb because it's another somewhat YOLOable module,
Certainly, there's only 4 possible answers as opposed to 3.
and
Sure.
you can have an educated guess at what's more likely. I just guessed this is false true because that bottom row, probably true. Like, implications are usually true. So, it's almost
3 out of 4
50-50
times implications
between
are
false
true,
true
yeah.
and true, what have we got next? So, microcontroller. Know the relevance of the serial number. If you're happy to communicate with your expert in this way, I could happily tell Rex on this module you don't need to know the serial. The second number is only relevant if it matches the number of batteries. It doesn't, we've got 2. And this number, the last number, is only relevant if it's a 1 or a 4. And they're the only 2 numbers you even need to bother with. So if those 2 conditions are untrue, don't even bother with them. Minesweeper, as a diffuser, learn to solo the beginning of the module. I mean, you definitely need to be able to solo the actual minesweepering part as well, but it's really easy to learn how to start off the module here, so just learn that and save your diffuser, your expert some time there.
Even if you can't be fast, you can do it on your own, and you will have time to do that. That's for sure. Rex?
Rex.
More schematics. There's one rule on 4 schematics that's really cruel. I always curse Hexy's name when I see it. You're supposed to keep the number between 1 and 26 always. So one of the first rule is if the sum of the characters, or the second rule actually, if the sum of the characters is a square, then you should add 4 to the first number, and if it's not a square, you should subtract 4 from the second number. 27, is it square or not? 27 is square because 27 is really 1, and 1 is a square number. 30 is a square because it's 4 more than 26. It's 4, a square number. 35, well, that's 9 more than 26. It's square, but 36, that's really a 10. It's not square. Anytime you see those numbers, first, remember it. Second, curse Hexy. Those are the rules.
Alright, the next one's yours as well, Rex.
Mouse in the maze. Okay, there's 4 conditions for a sphere. It can be in a corner, as this blue one is. It can be in a T intersection, or it can be in a corridor or a dead end. You have to have a communication strategy for each of them. This green is in a dead end. You'll see it in a minute. What we usually do for T's, for dead ends, are easy. How long does it take to get to there's a yellow in a corner? How long does it take to get to with your back to the wall? How many steps does it take to get on the ball from a dead end? That's the number for the dead ends. For a T intersection, you go the perpendicular direction on the T, and again say how many steps it takes to get onto the ball. For a corridor, that's, how many steps does it take to get on the ball? How many steps does it take to get on the other side? If it's a 2-2 intersection, that is, hang on a second. That's a really weird one for green. Let me get my paper manual out and look at that one. That one's maze, the middle right one. And that one, I just know. You have to say green's in the 2-2 corridor. And I look in the distance, if it's a right corner in the distance or a left corner in the distance. Oh, that's another thing. A right corner. Which direction can you go at a right corner? Well, you can go left. The corner describes where the wall is and where the other wall is.
So what we're looking
If
at
you
right
look in
now is the
your
right corner.
Yes, if you look in your apartment or your room that you're in, you look for a right corner. It's a corner that's got a wall to the right, and you can go left. There was some controversy about whether that's a right corner or a left corner. A right corner might be the corner you go right. No, that's wrong. A right corner is one you can go left on. A left corner is the one you can go right on. For corners, I was taught to say how much you can take to go to the right corner. And that's unique for most cases. But now, since that's kind of confusing, I say it's 10, 4 steps to get to the right corner in this case, and 1 step to get to the left corner.
Yeah, the way we
But going
communicate
left beyond
this.
it.
Is this 4? I think this might be 3. I'll just take a couple steps forward when the bomb
Yeah,
stops.
wait
So
until
1, 2, 3,
bomb
4.
stops.
Yeah, it's a 4-step right corner and it's a 1-step left corner. So it takes
Got it.
1, 2, 3, 4 corners on the right and 1 corners on the left. So that's how you communicate a corner.
Now, those are the 4 circumstances. You want to be able to call them out. That's how you do mouse in the maze.
Alright. Mystic Square, always keep an eye out for the unicorn. If this middle square is empty, the skull is under the 7, and then you don't need any kind of expert communication to help you out. So just look for this arrangement.
For perspective pegs, the diffuser can prep it. It's the first letter and the second letter, and if necessary, the third and the fourth. You can prep perspective pegs, so that's a good thing to do.
Piano keys is a partially solvable module, or fully solvable depending on how much time you want to put in. But as a diffuser, it's worth learning just the first 2 conditions for piano keys because they come up like most of the time. So learn to play Final Fantasy and Guile's theme, and then
There you go.
and then half the time you don't even need to give piano keys to an expert.
Now plumbing. I've done almost as much plumbing as I've done Forget Me Not. Yeah, almost. As a diffuser, I can pretty much guess what the plumbing is going to be. By the way, Sky's doing Mystic Square. Elias has a great tutorial video on how to do Mystic Square. It's different from the technique Sky does, but it's a technique. You should have a technique to solve Mystic Square. You shouldn't go for the quote easy solution.
Yeah, don't
You'll
ask
find
for
the
constellations from your expert. It's a time sink.
Nah,
Learn
yeah,
to solo
it's-
that.
yeah, learn to solo that one. But plumbing, I usually can figure out what it is, and I'll ask for verification. I think it's a blue to blue. Tell me if I'm right. Sometimes I have no idea. In any case, I always ask for confirmation or if time permitting. In this case, I think it's a blue to red just looking at it, because there's where the 4
Yeah.
the intersections are, and it just feels like a blue to red.
Sometimes as a diffuser you can like guarantee, you can check like this cannot be a blue output alone because blue either links to red here or we put it
Right.
here, we avoid the yellow, we put another L that goes to either up. Like this path just doesn't work as a blue solo output because you're going to end up linking to this X at some point, it looks like. Which just screws up your whole path. So I would tell Rex at this point, I don't think it's a blue. It goes to blue if that was his answer to me.
Yeah, I can already see what this is. It's definitely blue to red. I see the solution. But I've had a lot of practice. Sometimes, if I'm not sure as an expert, I'll say, call me a liar.
Oh,
No,
I don't know if
that's
people are familiar with this, by the way. You can solve plumbing without linking the 2 inputs and outputs. As long as you have no leaks, it's a valid solution. So on my red
That's
here, you
very
can see
rare.
my red output has no leaks. If I could do this with my blue as well, it would be completely valid.
If you do that, take a screenshot because it's really cool.
Yeah, it's
Post it.
very rare.
Gentlemen, I have to wrap up real soon, so I
Okay,
want to keep us moving. real
If you
quick.
do need to leave, then don't worry, but yeah.
Yeah. Round keypad uses the same, solve it at the same time as keypad, since you're going to need both of them for turn the keys anyway. They use the same exact manual page, so that's really a nice bonus.
Yeah, do them at the same time. If you happen to get keypad.
Yes.
Rock, paper, scissors, I think I mentioned earlier, but this is a prep module, just bear that in mind. If you've got nothing else to do, then you can work out which icon would win at each row, and then as soon as you find out what the decoy is, you have a solution.
Safety safe can be prepped as soon as you have edge work. So don't waste time if you know you're going to be doing safety safe. If that's quote unquote your module, make sure you do it.
And remember to set that up as a diffuser as well.
Yes.
The screw is another one to double check your expert on. So the screw, I don't know if everyone's aware, but because the rule is you can never have the same input twice, the fact that the screw begins in stage 1 here means that for the first stage, you can't put the screw in position 1. It has to move. So never put the screw into hole 1 on stage 1. That will always strike you. It's got to go into hole 2. But that's also just something to keep an eye out generally as a diffuser. If my expert tells me to use the same position 2 times on the trot, I'm going to tell them they're wrong.
Yeah, it's an easy mistake to make.
So double check your expert, because it's an easy one for you to confirm that they're not doing it. You've got no excuse for getting a strike on that as a diffuser.
Semaphore. Usually what we do is prep. Convert the whole serial number into flags, and then group them by letters, group them by numbers, and then do that. I've heard of people who use the WebTimly site will often use a highlight tool to prep
the way I
Semaphore.
do it, yeah.
That's really good. I don't have advantage of paper manual doesn't highlight very easily. But knowing how to use the highlighter tool is super important. If you don't know about the highlighter tool, ask somebody, because that's literally one of the first things I teach newcomers. They're always like, whoa, this is pretty cool. Know how to use the highlighter tool.
Yep. Simon Screams. I'm not sure what the note here is. What
you can prep. You can prep Simon Screams.
Oh, you can prep that. Yeah, you can prep. That's true. That's right. You can the upper left chart where what buttons you're going to press. And for Simon States, remember for the fourth round if you have the unique color rule, but remember you need all the stages for souvenir.
Yeah. So as a diffuser, you don't have to calculate stage 4 if you've got 3 unique color flashes. If color presses, excuse me. So if you've pressed red, yellow, green, you know stage 4 is a blue. But remember to give out the whole sequence because you need it for souvenir.
Gentlemen, I do have to roll.
Yeah,
so
no worries. We're almost done here, but thank you for sticking around, Tilly.
Of course, guys.
Yeah.
Talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
And yeah, just the point on Simon Screams there is if you find yourself with nothing else to do and Simon Screams is your module, it's just something you can prep. Symbolic password. As a diffuser, make sure that you know how to switch the order of a row. So we've got paragraph copyright psi. If my answer is paragraph psi copyright, getting these 2 symbols the other way around can be tricky. So the way that I do it, and let's hope I get this right under pressure, is left, up, right, down, left, up. Is that correct? And now we've got paragraph psi copyright, so we've got them the other way around now.
Nice.
Third base, make sure you know who's flipping. Just that's something to discuss before you start solving the module, like before you start the bomb, is decide whether it's the expert or the diffuser who's reversing everything that's being read.
Usually we have the diffuser do that, but that's just by convention.
Yeah.
I used to think that it would be better to have the manual page flipped. I know there's a browser add-ons that will flip pages for you.
Yeah.
I was thinking of using one of those. I was thinking my printed manual, I'd print it out and then flip it in there. Nobody wanted to work with me that way, so I just use your flip. Tic-tac-toe. You can prep tic-tac-toe for the starting row. Also, as a diffuser, you don't have to wait for the symbol to come up for the next one. When you're doing a double pass, you can just hit pass 2 times in a row and it's good to go. Likewise for colored squares, say, if he tells you row, you don't have to wait for it to settle in and give you all the lights. You can just click the row. Sometimes you'll get it for the next stage right away.
Let's see if I can get it. Oh. Well, you saw me click 1 successful square and didn't get stripes on it. Even though the colours haven't flashed up yet. I don't know if anyone noticed. There you go.
2 bits. You can always prep. One thing about 2 bits, don't get strikes, Scott. It's not fun. Don't forget with 2 bits, if you start out with an incorrect query or you get an incorrect query, go slow. I'm supposed to enter Zulu Papa, I enter Victor. Uh-oh. Don't enter Victor Zulu Papa. You have to enter 2 letters. Just do Victor something. Wait for the query to settle down. Wait for it to go back to 2 hyphens, and only then can you do it. If you go too fast, you will get a strike.
Yeah, while it's telling you your response, if I press anything, strike. Wire placement. If you have a missing color, it's a little bit faster to just tell your expert. So if I go to wire placement, I'm going to say I've got a blue to Charlie 3, and I've got no yellows, and then that just saves as a read.
Now Yahtzee's a module I can solo pretty much after I get the first roll. I think Sky knows how to solo the first roll. But after I get the first roll done, do not get greedy. Don't try to get 3 saved when you're rolling 4, because there's a funny special rule that says if you can say keep 3 as long as the you don't have 3 port plates. No one ever remembers that. Just keep 2 when you're rolling 4. Just keep 2. Don't get greedy. 2 is allowed. There's easy rules. 2 is allowed if neither's blue. It sort of rhymes. It's the nursery rhyme.
So here, I wouldn't be able to take these 2 because one of them is blue. So I'd have to just keep hold of something else. Although I'm probably going to take a white. That makes more sense.
No, you can't do that.
Oh, it does.
Yeah, right. In that case, keep the white.
I've got a straight here, so I need a different value.
Yeah, different value, not a different dice. Different value.
Can't keep the 2 if neither's blue. Remember that rhyme?
If you get for rolling 4 dice, you want to watch out for straight, small or large. If you got rolling 3 dice, you want to watch out for full houses. But otherwise, it's purple or white when you're rolling 3 to keep going, and blue or yellow after that.
So you've got to have a purple or white in these 2, and then a blue or yellow in these 3.
Once you got a certain case, where you've got 3 dice and you've got a purple and a blue or white and a blue, you're good to go. Tell your diffuser that you're good to go and give me more work.
Also, once you've rolled 4 dice, you can do the same thing with tic-tac-toe. You don't have to wait for the dice to roll in order to hit the roll button again. So as soon as you roll 4 dice, just button mash that roll button, and you'll get the solve.
Yes, Chris, we've gone over Souvenir more than once. Well, no, actually, we got,
we've kind of done it. Just remember the important stuff. Don't create life without reading out the weather. Record all the flashing lights for your Simon modules. Remember the phrases for seashells. That's easy to forget. Remember the first color on colored squares. Remember your 2-bit query values. Remember the ending for fast math. There's all sorts. It's just something you'll have to remember. Learn your souvenirs when you're prepping for this mission. That's pretty much everything we were going to discuss. Did you have anything to finish off with, Rex?
No. If there are questions from the chat, which I doubt because we went probing, yes. Tank, if you get a strike, probing needs to be reread.
Yes.
Because a strike on any module can make probing change. It usually doesn't, but it can. You got to reread probing if you get a strike anywhere.
So it's recommended to do probing earlier when it's not going to be affected by strikes.
Yeah.
We'll
anything else?
Yeah, we'll take questions from chat if anyone's got any questions. And Rex, you also wanted to quickly mention the DLL.
Yeah. Is what a bug, Drake?
A fake strike from factory for good measure. The fake strike is part of Ash's thing. I don't know if that's what you're talking about.
I don't know.
Ash's Nightmare Hallowe'en mod gives fake strikes and fake needy sounds. Oh,
no, that's not.
No, I don't.
That's actually mentioned in the manual.
Yeah.
They say it could change, and it can change on any module.
Yeah.
It's mentioned there. It's kind of a little tiny thing, but it's there.
Yeah.
Now, aside, not just Centurion, and totally not Centurion, Sam Fun has made a really cool thing. You know how mods load 1 at a time? They don't have to. Sam's made a DLL, a substitute DLL for one that comes with the game that loads all the mods in parallel. Anybody who wants to get a copy of this DLL and instructions on where to put it, let me know. Send me a message on Discord. I'll be happy to give you that thing. It's really, really cool. Um, the mods load about twice as fast as they would other ones. That's that.
All right.
I gave that out a bit last time, but maybe there's new people here.
Yeah, well, we've done Centurion. There's a couple of shout outs I'll just make to end with here. Again, thanks to Elias for making our Halloween bomb. That was very nice. Thanks to Ash for making the Centurion, and also for the Halloween mods in Factory. Also, thanks Rex for doing all these challenges with me and for doing the streams and things that we've been doing recently, and to Silly as well. Thanks to all you guys for watching.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll take questions if anyone's got them. Also, if anyone asked a question earlier that we missed, feel free to re-ask it.
I'm going to be doing bombs if anyone wants to on my stream. I figured out how to do that now. So join the lounge and I'll figure out how to start the thing and we'll go. Thanks, Elias.
I'm just going to scroll back and see if we got any questions that I'll quickly answer. And then I think once I head to bed, then you're going to do some bombs, right?
Right.
All right. So there's Animawani asks, what about trivial modules like English test and password? I don't know if we've really got much to mention. We're not going to tell you how to solve every module. We just wanted to give our tips that people may not have considered, I suppose. Otherwise, we'll be here all night.
No, I know people who solo it on Twitch plays. I think that's a total mistake. I know one person who soloed it on a bomb. He never did it again. This is Rubik's Cube soloing I'm talking about.
Right.
It's just too hard. You can't see the back face well. It's just a pain. The techniques you use to solve a Rubik's Cube are very difficult to apply on a voice bomb.
As for when you should solve them, Animawani, I mentioned earlier that quick trivial modules should be saved as much as possible because later on in the bomb they can just kind of give you a breather from doing the difficult stuff. They're really good to give to someone who's just struck to kind of get them back on track, to kind of settle the nerves, because it is really disheartening to be the person who's struck on a challenge this big. If you've been 70 modules clean and then you're the person who gets the strike, you do feel terrible about it. So save those easy modules for the person who's gonna who strikes. But also bear in mind that some of them you can do yourself, like password, binary, Boolean Venn diagram, and English test. Really, they're all soloable modules. And as a diffuser, try and solo as much stuff as you can to save some time for your experts then. Learn to read rhythms, learn to read Morse if you can do. But yeah, small modules, I try to leave them as long as possible. I don't really see any other questions here.
Yes, that's right. Battleship is another module that's soloable.
Yeah.
As I said, I can usually get pretty good on plumbing.
Trivially soloable modules. The time to do soloable modules is as soon as possible. In any possible downtime, you should be doing soloables, and you should be doing interactives. So soloables, get them out early. You'll see me rushing the soloables in Defuse, in Praetorian and Centurion. It's good for morale as well, because when you get those soloable modules done early, everyone can see just how far ahead of time they are. If you have got 50 solves in the first 35, 40 minutes, you feel like you're making really good time. And that's definitely a boost. So if you can solo it, if you've got the time to solo it, do it. There's no reason to save it. Trivial expert modules, do save those.
And I think that's a wrap, Sky?
I guess I'll end my stream here. Rex is going to be diffusing over on his channel. He's going to be doing viewer diffusal. Everyone head over there. There is the link coming up in chat now. If anyone would like to join our Discord server, there is also a link in the description of the video, and I guess I'll put one there. Oh, Tank's done it. Thank you. The Rex link doesn't seem to be coming up. I think Nightbot's sleeping. There's Rex's YouTube channel. There you go.
I'm gonna hop into the lounge when Sky ends this.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
All right, I'm gonna end it here. So thank you very much for watching, everyone. Yeah,
Bye-bye.
lag. So we'll see you on Rex's stream. Bye bye.
Bye bye.